No, it is you and your student who will lead this revolutionary, the old toad said firmly. Did you see who it was? Jiraiya asked anxiously, since guiding this child of prophecy was his destiny and the purpose of his life. A boy with exceptional visual abilities and physical strength. I haven't seen such a powerful child in a long time. He will be the master of every ninjutsu and will be one of the strongest shinobi in the world. He has part of the power of the Sage of the Six Paths, the elder said, shocking Jiraiya and Fukasaka. What power? Fukasaku asked curiously. A power that only one person possessed in the past, the old toad said and looked pointedly at Fukasaka. This can't be. Thought the shocked Fukasaku, only he knew the whole truth. But how can he have such power? Where can I find him? Asked Jiraiya curiously. This is your destiny. I do not know who this boy is, but I feel his presence in the shinobi world, said the elder toad. I will find him no matter what, Jiraiya said hurriedly and turned to leave, but was stopped when he heard the elder toad's words. Jiraiya, there's something you need to know, the old toad said gloomily. Jiraiya was shocked when he heard that the elder was so serious that it must be really important. There is a sea of darkness in this boy, waiting to be brought down on the shinobi world. The time will come when the boy will be asked to make a choice, the elder toad said carefully. What choice? Jiraiya asked hesitantly. The one who will determine the fate of the shinobi world, the old toad said seriously. Fukasaku saw how serious the elder was and was very nervous. There was only one time in the past when the elder was so serious, and after that there were big changes that changed the world of shinobi. Jiraiya, if this boy loses himself to create darkness, then the world is doomed. There will be no force in nature that could stop him, the elder toad warned. Is he that strong? Asked Jiraiya in shock. He will either be our greatest savior or our worst nightmare. The one who will bring great peace or destroy the whole world, the elder toad said seriously. But how could he turn into darkness? Jiraiya asked hurriedly. I feel that a big event is happening in his life that will change him forever. I do not know, for better or for worse, the elder said wearily. He felt sleepy again. I'll find him, Jiraiya said decisively. And I won't let him fall into darkness. Chapter 8. A hero was born. The Konoha Council was sitting in their war room. Everyone looked very tense. Every clan head was in the battle room, along with every important commander of the armed forces. In the center of the room sat Minato, along with Hiruzen, Jiraiya, the Umbu commander, and Narashikaku. The other clan heads took their seats. Mikoto was sitting next to Kagami. She was the head of the medical corps, but she was worried. Her eyes were constantly fixed on one person in the room. This person was none other than her eldest son Naruto Namikaze. He was standing next to his uncle Shursui in the corner of the room. Now people will wonder why a 7-year-old child came to such an important meeting, but there was a good reason for Naruto's presence in the battle room. He should have been there. He stood quietly in the room. He had previously been informed of why he had to attend. He still remembered the conversation with his father. Memories. Naruto was standing in his father's office. There were a lot of books there. His father liked to read books on various topics. There were also several jutsu scrolls in the room, but Naruto was not allowed to see them without his father's permission. His father was sitting in an armchair. There was a serious expression on his face, but Naruto did not miss his father's worried eyes. Naruto, I called you here for a special reason, Minato began softly. He motioned for his son to sit on the sofa in front of him. Naruto complied with his father's request, sat down in front of his father and looked at him seriously. What is it? Naruto asked curiously. Minato bit his lip. He was nervous as he had to tell his son that he was just a 7-year-old kid. He should play and enjoy his childhood, but it seems fate had other plans. Naruto, war is inevitable. The enemy has begun to mobilize their forces, Minato said seriously. Naruto was very upset to hear this. He didn't want a world war. This will lead to huge destruction and countless innocent people will die. I see, Naruto said sadly. I know how you feel. Believe me, if it were in my hands, I would stop this war, Minato said softly. I know, Tachan. I understand what you need from me. Naruto asked seriously. He knew his father needed him right now, his village needed him. Despite the fact that he was a pacifist, in the event of an imminent war, he would not hesitate to defend his home. Minato felt proud when he saw Naruto's look. He didn't say it, but something in his heart told him that his son was going to change the future of the shinobi world. There is a tradition that our village has been following since the reign of Naidame, Minato said slowly. What kind of tradition is this? Naruto asked seriously. During the war, each Konoha clan must send its heir and all its shinobi to battle. This is a custom that has been followed since the first great ninja war, Minato briefly explained. Now Naruto has clarified the situation. And since I am the eldest son of the fourth Hokage, as well as the first heir of the Namikaze clan, I have to go to the front line, Naruto concluded analytically. A proud smile appeared on Minato's face. His eldest son was really very smart. Yes, it should show the clan's faith and devotion to the village. It was a rule set by Naidame-sama, Minato said seriously. I'll go, but Tachan, please promise me one thing. Naruto said in a strangled voice that he couldn't stop the tears that were slowly flowing in his eyes. His little heart was scared. After all, he was just a 7-year-old kid. The thought of participating in a world war scared him. The thought of losing his father, mother and younger brother made him even more depressed. He just couldn't bear the thought of not seeing his family again. He didn't lie to himself. He wasn't invincible, immortal, or a very strong fighter. He knew that anything could happen in a war, but he didn't want to die yet. Minato felt his son's pain and stepped forward. He put his hand on his shoulders to calm him down. Please don't let anything happen, Ka-chan and Itachi. Never send my little brother to this war, even if I die, Naruto said, but was cut off. You won't die, you'll come back alive, Minato said firmly. I'll do it, but you know anything can happen. I've never asked you for anything, but this time, please grant my request, Naruto said softly. I'll take care of your mother and your brother, Minato said seriously. Promise me, Naruto demanded. Minato looked into his son's desperate eyes. Naruto didn't want to admit it, but he was still too young to fight. But he had no choice. They were facing superior enemy forces, and Konoha needed every man to fight, even if they were small children. It was the harsh reality of the shinobi world. Naruto's generation was the youngest of all the previous generations who were going to fight in the world war. I promise, Minato said honestly. I love you and I'm proud of you, Minato said with a sad smile. Naruto hugged his father tightly. These last few weeks have brought him much closer to his father. Minato hugged his son tightly. Several tears rolled down from his eyes. He loved his son very much. No matter what, he was his blood. And Minato knew that he was sending him straight to the gates of hell. Naruto thought about everything he and his father had shared. He didn't know what those feelings were. Was it respect? Maybe it was love. He looked into his heart and the answer was pretty clear. Naruto Namikaze loved his father very much. Both father and son stayed like that for a few hours, releasing their feelings for each other. However, both men did not notice the sad eyes of Sharingan, who were watching them intently, and they didn't see the tears that flowed from Mikoto's eyes. End of memories. A single tear rolled down from Mikoto's eyes, but she quickly wiped it away before anyone could see. However, her pain did not go unnoticed by her father. Kagami put his hand on his daughter's shoulders and smiled reassuringly. Everything will be fine, Kagami said softly. Hi, Mikoto said slowly. Both Uchiha were interrupted in conversation when they heard Minato's voice. All of you have been called here for a reason that most of you know about, Minato said firmly. He received several nods in response. Naruto just stood in the corner and watched his father carefully. The fourth great ninja war has begun, Minato announced seriously. A murmur began to grow in the war room. Now everyone was much more tense. However, Minato silenced them by raising his chakra. Kumo, Willow, and Kiri seem to have formed an alliance and declared war on us earlier, Minato said calmly. How dare they? This is an outrage. We have to make them pay. There were a lot of screams in the room. Naruto felt a lot of ki flowing away. He was very uncomfortable, as he was not familiar with such a strong killing intent. His parents taught him to tolerate ki, but he was still learning and had not learned to keep a calm facade. However, he tried his best to look indifferent, but a little worry was clearly visible in his eyes. Silence. Minato's angry voice echoed throughout the room. Everyone could feel his ki and immediately closed their mouths. However, Nara Shikaku, who was the head of the Nara clan, as well as the commander of the Hunins, wanted to ask a few questions. Hokage-sama, allow me to speak, Shikaku officially asked. Minato nodded. Everyone looked at Nara curiously. Almost everyone in Konoha knew that Shikaku was the most brilliant strategist, and everyone respected him. What is our situation with our alliance with Suna? Shikaku asked seriously. Minato sighed wearily. He knew it was coming, and unfortunately, this is where things would get worse. They decided to remain neutral in this war. Suna suffered the most in the previous war, and Kazekage does not want to participate in a new war so soon. However, he promised that Suna is not against Konoha, but they will not join us or the enemy, Minato briefly explained. Another round of angry shouts lasted for 5 minutes, as everyone was furious after hearing Suna's decision. Only the elders, Danzo and Hiruzen remained calm because they knew that there were no alliances during the war. We have to declare war on them, Tsum Inuzuka, the head of the Inuzuka clan, said angrily. It would worsen our situation, Tsum-san. We are already at war with 3 hidden villages, adding another village as our enemy is not our best choice. Suna denied us any military support, but they secretly agreed to provide us with a small supply of weapons and supplies, Minato sighed. This is just their attempt to prevent us from declaring war on them, Hayashi Hyuga said arrogantly. Maybe, but any help is welcome, Hayashi-san. I also have some good news, Minato said a little happily. The eyes of many participants lit up in the hope of hearing the words of their Hokage. The rebel forces that are opposing Mizukage and Kiri have agreed to help us, Minato said encouragingly. A slight smile appeared on the faces of some participants. They felt a little animated, but some representatives of the older generation knew that there was a catch. What do they want in return? Danzo asked neutrally. He hated the whole situation. Konoha was in danger, and it was all because of their Hokage's incompetence. If only he was a Hokage. They want our support in their war against Mizukage after the end of this war, Minato said honestly. Before another discussion could begin, Hiruzen spoke quickly. It's a difficult choice. We don't know what condition our village will be in after the war. But we have no choice. The rebels have promised us 3,000 of their shinobi to help us in this war. Many of them are from bloodline clans, Hiruzen said tactically. It did that. Hiruzen could clearly see the greedy faces of his teammates. Almost everyone now agreed with the proposal, since the shinobi possessing Kekkei Genkai were very powerful. This is a logical choice. Who is the leader of these rebels? Inoichi Yamenka asked curiously. Mei Terumi, the formidable kunoichi who has been leading the Kiri rebel forces for several months. As far as we know, her exploits and tactics have seriously weakened Mizukage's rule, Minato said honestly. We agree with Hokage-sama. We will accept the offer of the rebel forces, Danzo said too happily. Danzo, you sick bastard, Minato thought with disgust that he knew that Danzo had already started thinking about ways to get the bodies of the Kekkei Genkai shinobi of the Kiri rebels. But even an evil person like Danzo was needed right now. Despite his plans, he also wanted to protect Konoha and had extensive experience in 3 ninja wars. Minato had to bitterly agree to include Danzo in the war council. Now Jiraiya-sensei has collected a lot of information about the enemy. He will explain what information he received from his spies, Minato said seriously. Everyone looked at Jiraiya. This man was the best espionage master in the shinobi world. However, Jiraiya's gaze seemed to be fixed on Naruto. There was something about the boy that attracted Jiraiya to him. Hiruzen slowly nudged his student and brought him out of his stupor. The third Hokage had just sighed over his student's antics. Although Jiraiya sometimes acted like an idiot, he was a powerful ninja, and of all 3 of his students, Hiruzen was only proud of Jiraiya. His valued disciple Orochimaru has already become a traitor and left the village. He had such high hopes for this man, but he let him down. The next was his student Tsunade Senju. She was the best medic in the world. But after the death of her brother and fiancé, she left the village. She also failed Hiruzen. Hiruzen didn't get depressed when Jiraiya started explaining the enemy forces. Since last year, I've been watching Kumo, Willow and Kiri. Tsukage and Raikage were the ones who started this conspiracy, and later Mizukage joined them, Jiraiya said calmly. It looks like Willow and Kumo still haven't let go of their shameful defeat in the last war, Takon Kurama said wearily. Yes, they want to destroy Konoha and seize our land. They call their combined armies the Heavenly Alliance, Jiraiya said sarcastically. Many participants snorted when they heard such a funny name. Even Naruto could not restrain a slight smile, which did not go unnoticed by Mikoto. She just felt a little relieved to see her son smile. Do we have any information about their strength? Shibi Aburame asked seriously. Their combined armies number a total of 45,000 shinobi ready for battle, Jiraiya said, shocking everyone present. These were very large enemy forces. Although Konoha had a huge military force, they were still insufficient compared to the forces of their enemy. How many shinobi do we have ready for battle? Asked Koharu curiously. If we unite the Kiri rebels, we will have a squad of 20,000 shinobi ready for battle, Minato said, shocking everyone. Fear was growing in the hearts of people. Despite the fact that there were many powerful shinobi on their side, their army was even half as small as that of their enemy. But our army is very small compared to the army of the Heavenly Alliance, Choza Akimichi objected worriedly. He even stopped eating chips, which was a rarity. It's really true, but they don't have our will of fire, Hiruzen said, trying to lift their spirits. Hiruzen, in wars you can't only conduct morality, we need people to fight and protect Konoha. Your stupid ideals don't apply anymore, Danzo said sharply. Hiruzen had just sighed wearily, although Danzo's words were like poison, but there was truth in them. Everyone's mood dropped, even Minato was depressed and didn't know what to say. He was trying to find words that would restore the confidence of his people. Don't give up. Everyone's eyes went up and they started looking for the person who said those words. Everyone was very surprised when a young blonde man appeared in the center of the room. Naruto. Minato and Mikoto thought anxiously. They didn't want their son to do stupid things. Minato was about to stop his son when Hiruzen and Jiraiya grabbed him by the shoulders. Minato looked at them both seriously. Sometimes little kids can do things that we can't. Those were the only words Hiruzen said, and Jiraiya nodded too. Naruto-san, you have no authority to say anything, Hayashi said irritably. How dare this bastard speak at such an important meeting? I thought Konoha was famous for being fair, and I let everyone talk. As for my powers, Hayashi-san, I am the eldest son of the Hokage of this village and the heir of the Namikaze clan. Really gives me the right to speak, Naruto said shortly. His black eyes looked intently at the leader of the Hyuga, which was very surprising for a child. The Hyuga leader only gritted his teeth, but didn't say anything else when he noticed Minato's cold gaze on him. But today, I stand before you as a citizen of this village. Dear members of the council, I ask you to allow me to say a few words, Naruto officially said. Everyone was very surprised that the Hokage's son really closed Hayashi's mouth, albeit with respect. Come on, puppy, some said cheerfully. Naruto really reminded her of a certain redhead. The other clan leaders also nodded, and Naruto bowed gratefully. Unlike all of you, I am not wise enough to know about the war, and I do not know how to deal with such a huge enemy force, Naruto began. All the participants listened attentively to Naruto's words, as if the boy just knew how to attract everyone's attention. But I know for sure that this village was the dream of our ancestors. They sacrificed everything, even their lives, for this village. Straight from Shodame, Nidame, White Fang, Tsukumo Hatake and all the shinobi who fought, shed blood and died, because this village wants one thing. Naruto said decisively. Kakashi's eyes widened when he heard Naruto call his father a hero. He didn't think Naruto considered his father such a great man. It made him really happy, and he was grateful to the little boy. He clearly saw his fallen comrade Obito in his sensei's son. Is this really my son? Mikoto thought in amazement. Words cannot describe how proud she was of her little boy. What is it? Hamura asked quietly. They wanted what I'm asking you right now. They wanted us to love this village and believe in each other, no matter what the odds tell us. They never wanted us to give up. They wanted us to protect this village and build a future for the next generation at any cost. It was the dream and last wish of every hero who died for this village. All Hokage and every name on the memorial stone of our village have never lost faith in us. They sacrificed their future to give us a new life, Naruto said passionately. Minato, Hiruzen, Jiraiya, and even the Anbu commander were shocked when they saw that there was a little hope in the eyes of the people. If it ends here, we will destroy everything they stood for, Naruto said firmly. The eyes of some of them widened in surprise, as some of them remembered their parents, family members, friends who gave their lives for the village. We are no different from each other, we face the same danger, and we all share the same feelings. There are many more enemies than us, and if each of us fights only for ourselves, we will never win. Naruto said honestly. Some of the participants dropped their heads in shame, realizing their mistake. True strength is not in numbers. Let me ask you one question. If at least one of you doesn't have an answer to this question, then I wouldn't say anything else, Naruto said sternly. What is it? Inoichi asked curiously. He was really impressed by the boy. He was an investigator, and the way the boy inspired people was amazing. He gave hope where there was none, he showed light where there was darkness. Do you have someone you care about? The person for whom you will gladly give your life? The boy asked innocently. All the council members except Danzo and his teammates nodded. My Gigi and my mom taught me that if there is someone precious to us, then and only then can the true power of shinobi manifest. I love this village and every person in it with all my heart, and I am ready to sacrifice everything, even my life. Are you ready to do the same or will you give up? Naruto asked seriously. Everyone's eyes widened when they heard the truth in the boy's words. Each of them was thinking about his family, his children. What happens if they give up? Are they willing to sacrifice their future just because the enemy had a large army? They were even more shocked when they felt a powerful surge of chakra throughout the room. They looked up and saw that Naruto's entire body was covered in blue flames. His black eyes shone brightly. Such a powerful chakra, Hiruzen and Jiraiya thought in shock. His chakra is visible, the trio of Inoshikacho thought in amazement. Is this boy real? Some thought in shock. Interesting, Danzo and the elders thought. His strength is incredible, Shisui and Kakashi thought with wide eyes. Shibi did not comment on this, but if you look closely, his eyebrows were also raised. Although Hayashi was just silent, he was very angry. This is my son, Mikoto thought happily. He will grow up to be a great shinobi, Kagami thought proudly. You did what I couldn't do, Naruto. You have given hope to your people. You will become a much greater Hokage than me. No father could have dreamed of a better son than you, Minato thought proudly. Even if I remain the last, I will protect this village and my family to the end. No matter what happens, I will never give up. Naruto shouted passionately, then his chakra exploded, the wooden floors cracked, and several cuts appeared on the tables. A powerful gust of wind swept across the room, and everyone could see the power of Naruto Namikaze. A gloomy silence reigned in the room. Everyone was looking at each other, fire was burning in everyone's eyes, everyone nodded, and a determined expression appeared on their faces. We can win. Show them, Konoha is strong, when Naruto-sama has, we can win. Naruto was very surprised when everyone was rooting for him, the whole room exploded with loud applause and applause. People were rooting for the little boy, there were tears of joy in Mikoto's eyes, she couldn't hold back any longer and hugged her son tightly. The chakra dissipated, and Naruto looked at his mother curiously. Did I do the right thing? Naruto asked curiously. Of course, silly, you were great, Mikoto said, giggling. A good kid, not so pathetic, Jiraiya said with a proud smile. So go there, Blondie, some said proudly. Many people came up and stroked the little boy, making him blush even more from embarrassment. He suddenly felt a little awkward about being in the middle of so many people. Do you see this, Minato? Hiruzen asked with a knowing smile on his face. Yes, Sandem-sama, we probably found a good candidate for the next Hokage, Minato said proudly. Hiruzen agreed with him. Perhaps you are a child of prophecy, Jiraiya thought. Chapter 9 Tactical Plan. Jiraiya stared at the young blonde man in the center of the room. He was clearly impressed with how he motivated the board. There was fire in everyone's eyes, the desire to win, the will to protect their home and precious people were clearly visible in the eyes of every shinobi. He saw Naruto hugging his mother, but something didn't seem right. Jiraiya looked closer, and his old eyes saw something that shocked him. He participated in 3 wars, saw a lot of evil, even his best friend succumbed to darkness, and if there was one thing that Jiraiya clearly remembered about Orochimaru, it was his friend's insidious smile. A smile that sent chills down his spine, a smile designed to deceive people, and a smile that showed the darkness inside his friend. And right now, the same smile was on Naruto's face. Naruto seemed happy. His face expressed a sense of joy, but what kind of mystery could be seen in his dark black eyes? It seemed that it was something dark, something frightening. As time passes, when the boy grows up, his darkness will increase. His desire to protect is much stronger than any human I've ever seen, but his desire to kill is even stronger. He has a kind soul, but I feel something very dark inside him. The more his visual prowess increases, the darker and more dangerous he will become. A slight shiver ran down Jiraiya's spine. He still couldn't forget a word the old toad said when he was alone with him. What if Naruto really was a child of prophecy? This thought brought Jiraiya relief, but at the same time anxiety. The boy had a kind soul, but he was very mysterious, and Jiraiya never liked mystery, because they always had a dark side. He looked at the boy, and now the smile was gone. He was replaced by an innocent smile again. What darkness do you have inside, Naruto? Jiraiya thought carefully. Grass country. There were 5 figures sitting in a small circle in a small room. There was an oppressive silence in the room, even a small noise coming from the wooden floors could be heard. In one corner of the room sat Sandame Rakage, his exuberant figure, and his presence was felt throughout the room. However, he wasn't the only person with such a strong presence. Tsuchikage was sitting next to him. Anoki sat seriously and for the first time did not complain of back pain. Konan from Akatsuki was sitting opposite both Kage, with Mizukage next to her. She could feel the power of Yagura, as well as the power of Sanbai, three-tailed. This man was a very strong Kage and Jinchuriki too. Sitting across from her was the most evil person she had ever met. Orochimaru was sitting quietly in his chair, but everyone saw his sly snake smile, and, frankly, it was disgusting. So, Orochimaru, we have prepared our armies, and now they are almost ready. It's time for you to play your cards, Inoki said sharply. Orochimaru cunningly licked his lips with his snake tongue, which annoyed almost everyone in the room. Of course, Tsuchikage Dano, I always keep my word, Orochimaru said with a distorted laugh. I beg to disagree, Raikage said abruptly. It hurts me, Raikage Dano, do you really not trust me? Asked Orochimaru in a sad voice. No one gave him an answer, and Snake Sannin sighed in disappointment. I will show you that I am really with you in the destruction of Konoha. Let me show you how powerful an ally I am, Orochimaru said with a grin. He made several hand seals, and suddenly 5 coffins rose from the ground. Every Kage's eyes widened in shock when they saw what was in that coffin. Orochimaru started giggling madly and clasped his hands in excitement. Gentlemen, I present to you the greatest warriors ever born in this world, Orochimaru said excitedly. He's finally learned how to do it, Conan thought, shocked, but there was no emotion on her face. This is... Inoki said in shock. Even Raikage took a step back in fear when he saw the man in the coffin. Even he couldn't compare to these 4 veterans. Edo Tensei, said Mizukage in amazement. The figures slowly emerged from the coffins, and now everyone could feel the power of these shinobi. However, one coffin remained closed. In front of them stood the magnificent 4, they were the best warriors of their time. Hashirama Dano? Inoki asked in shock. Inoki's eyes were wide open like saucers because Hashirama Senju was standing in front of him, the shinobi god, a man who was said to be the strongest shinobi born in this world. The strongest Kage of all time, as well as the first Hokage of Konoha. He was a master of the wooden style and was said to be the greatest medic ever born in this world. His brother Tobirama Senju was standing next to him, the second Hokage of Konoha and the greatest user of the water style of all time. He was able to create water from the air and was a master of teleportation. Yagura's eyes glittered a little with excitement when he saw the gray-haired Senju. The third person was none other than Mito Uzumaki. She was the wife of Hashirama Senju. She was also one of the strongest women of the Uzumaki clan. Her strength was immeasurable, and she also had the ability to subdue a 9-tailed fox. The last one was none other than Tsukumo Hatake, White Fang Konoha. This man was said to be stronger than the Sanins, and was one of the most powerful shinobi of the village of Hidden Leaves. Is it really them? Raikage asked suspiciously. The one and only, I present to you Hashirama Senju, Tobirama Senju, Mito Uzumaki Senju and Tsukumo Hatake. The strongest shinobi of the Hidden Leaf, Orochimaru said proudly. He had devoted years of his life to perfecting this kenjutsu, forbidden technique, and now he was achieving excellent results. How do we know you can control them? Yagura asked dangerously. I can control them, they can fight on our side and help in the destruction of Konoha. Just imagine the faces of the Konoha shinobi when they have to face their greatest heroes in battle, Orochimaru said with an evil laugh. There was a sly smile on the faces of all the Kage when they realized how much damage they could inflict on Konoha. Who's in this last coffin? Conan asked firmly. Well, it's a secret, you'll find out when the time comes, Orochimaru said cryptically. You will tell us right now, the Raikage demanded angrily. Is this a threat? You remember that I can control these 4, it's unwise to threaten your allies, Orochimaru said darkly, his ki flashing all over the room. Everyone took a step back in fear. They knew that even if they were allies, Orochimaru was a dangerous man, and if he could control these 4 legends, then it would be wise to have him on their side. We'll ignore it for now, Inoki said bitterly. He hated obeying this young man, but his goal to destroy Konoha was more important. But we really want to know the identity of this person. Don't test my patience, Yagura warned gloomily. I promise, when the time comes, you will find out who it is, Orochimaru said sincerely. I can't reveal my trump card right now. Orochimaru thought confusedly. Kage, the leader Sama wants to know your strategy for deploying our armed forces, Konan said seriously. Inoki and Yagura motioned for Raikage to speak first. Meanwhile, Orochimaru made another hand seal, and all the coffins disappeared from the room. Konoha is right in the middle of the shinobi world, which is a great advantage for our war. Raikage began calmly, "What's on your mind?" Konan asked curiously. "Before I outline my plan, what is our current situation on the pitch?" asked Raikage. Tsuchikage and Mizukage nodded, as this is where their role came up. I divided my squad of 15,000 shinobi into 3 squads. One is stationed in Kusa, the other in Taki, and the third detachment will serve as a reserve for the first 2 detachments and will constantly supply weapons, food, reinforcements and everything else. Other important supplies for the advanced troops, Inoki briefly explained. It looks like it was very easy to overthrow the people of Kusa and Taki, Orochimaru said confusedly. My armies are strong, we won't let anything get in our way. I control Kusa and Taki, rest assured, they won't be a problem, Inoki said firmly. Well, you have Konoha surrounded from the west. Do you have any special forces that could attack Konoha secretly from the borders of Suna? Konan asked curiously. Yes, I have a small detachment of my explosion corps hiding deep within the borders of Suna. They can bomb Konoha's borders for weeks, Inoki explained. Very good, you have a good strategy. The leader herself will be pleased. Konan said stoically, while Inoki nodded indifferently. Then Konan gestured for Yaguru to speak. The man only nodded firmly. I divided my army into 2 divisions. One will continue to attack from Kiri and the islands around it. The second division has already moved to Nagi Island and established a base of operations there. They will attack Konoha from the south, while the first division will attack from the east. I also have a small squad specializing in naval warfare, ready to engage the enemy. The total forces that I have saved for this war are 15,000 shinobi, Yagura briefly explained. So, this surrounds Konoha from both the east and the south, a wise move, Raikage said with a grin. What about your powers, Raikage Dano? Orochimaru asked seriously. I also divided my forces into 3 units, each with 5,000 shinobi. They are attacking Konoha from the north. My forces will be ready to attack in a few days. Raikage said seriously. So, we have surrounded the enemy from all sides. Konoha will have to stay on the defensive, Konan said analytically. As for the weapons your leader promised us, we paid you a huge sum for them, Inoki said sternly. Konan nodded and opened the scroll. The thing that appeared interested both Kage and Orochimaru. There was a weapon, metal, pointed. What is it? Orochimaru asked seriously. This weapon is called a missile. It was developed personally by the leader Sama. It can hit anything within 2,000 yards, it can also destroy armored targets, Konan briefly explained. How strong is he? Raikage asked excitedly. It is more powerful than 500 combined explosive tags, with precise use it can seriously destroy any advancing enemy forces. The explosion won't leave anyone alive, Konan explained stoically. Very good, he will be very useful in the war, Yagura said proudly. Konan looked at all the Kages, they are such fools. They were only thinking about their own selfish interests, not even realizing Akatsuki's real intentions. What about Jinchuriki? Konan asked very carefully. All the Kage looked at her and Orochimaru with narrowed eyes. They didn't trust them both. The only reason they joined together was because they all shared the same goal. They will fight too, but you don't have to worry about that. We'll handle it, Inoki said dangerously. No one has ever touched his weapon. The Kumo Jinchuriki will fight, but only on my orders, Reikage said sternly. I am not interested in this war, my armies will do their job. Reikage, Tsuchikage, you haven't forgotten about our deal, have you? Yagura asked sternly. Rest assured, we fully support you in the fight against the rebels, both Kage said in unison. What about the support of your comrades? Yagura asked curiously. If necessary, our group members will provide tactical support, Orochimaru said seriously. Very good, Yagura said shortly. And when you plunge into the war, we will take your Jinchuriki and bring peace to this world, Konan thought firmly. The Kage and Akatsuki members discussed their plans for a few more minutes before ending the meeting. However, all of them did not see that a small bird was watching them closely. Konoha's war room, everyone was now sitting patiently in their seats. The inspiring speech really raised everyone's morale. Minato looked proudly at his son. Now he had to complete the task for which Naruto was present at this meeting. But before he could start, the door to the room rudely opened. A man entered the room. Everyone's eyes widened in surprise and shock when they saw who this person was. Jiraiya had a smirk. So you've finally come, still as beautiful as ever, Jiraiya thought warmly. In front of everyone stood the legendary Sucker, a member of Hiruzen's team and one of Konoha's legendary Sanins. It was none other than Tsunade Senju. Hiruzen was shocked. He couldn't believe that his wayward disciple was here. Maybe there was still hope. Tsunade was standing in the center of the room. She was wearing a green haori with the inscription, player, and her legs were covered with gray pants. She had her hands on her hips and her face was serious. Many men looked at her big breasts with wide-open eyes. She looked so amazing, despite the fact that she was almost 44 years old. Tsunade-sama, many people said in shock. Tsunade did not give any answer, but only looked sternly at Minato, who only looked at her very intently and motioned for her to sit down. Many people started asking questions, since Tsunade really left the village a long time ago. Since she was a Sannin, she had the right to go wherever she wanted, provided she remained loyal to the village. But to see her back in the village was a shock, but it was also a great relief for many, since Tsunade was a Kage-level shinobi and the greatest medic in the world. If she returns, then their chances of winning the war will increase. Now I ask everyone except Shikaku, the elders, Tsunade-sama, Jiraiya-sensei, Hiruzen-sama, Commander Ambu, Shisui, Mikoto, Naruto, Kakashi and Kagami-san to leave the room. The purpose of this meeting was to explain the enemy's actions so far. The further strategy will be formed by us, and all of you will receive further instructions in due course from your boss, Minato briefly explained. Everyone nodded, bowed low to their leaders, and slowly began to leave the room. After a few moments, everyone left except the ones Minato mentioned. He looked at his son. Now is the time. Naruto Namikaze, step forward, commanded Minato. Naruto nodded and stepped forward. Now he was standing in front of his father. He knelt down and bowed before his father. Tsunade looked at the boy curiously. It was the first time she had seen the boy. She was very surprised that the boy looked more like his mother, but still he had Minato blonde hair. She was familiar with Minato and his wife Mikoto. Tsunade liked Minato as Hokage because he didn't force her to do anything and let her live her life on her own terms, even if it meant staying away from the village. He understood her pain and, despite people's protests, allowed her to leave, and she was grateful for that, as it gave her time to grieve. Now Minato needed her help. She knew what danger Konoha was in. Despite hating the village, she still decided to support her. The only reason she did it was because it was her brother and lover's dream to protect the village and become a Hokage. And she'd be damned if she let their dreams die. So, despite her personal feelings, she was here to fight as a Konoha shinobi. She nodded briefly to Mikoto and Kagami. She respected both Uchiha. They were one of the few Uchiha she could stand, as they weren't sticking pricks and gave her the respect she deserved. She noticed Mikoto's worried gaze fixed on her son. A slight smile appeared on Tsunade's face. She could understand how Mikoto felt. She was also very sad for the little boy. He was too young for this war, just like her brother. Today you are being recruited as a Konoha shinobi. You will serve as the heir of the Namikaze clan and you will fight for the village on the front line, Minato said loudly. Hi, Hokage-sama, Naruto said sincerely. However, you have a special responsibility to this village, for which you will have to make sacrifices, Minato said slowly. The people in the room looked at their Hokage curiously, and Mikoto narrowed her eyes. What was her husband up to? I am at your disposal, Hokage-sama, Naruto said seriously. He already knew what his father was asking of him. But he was afraid of what his mother would do when the truth became known. Instead, you won't join the regular troops. Minato said hesitantly. It was a very dangerous decision he was making. He noticed that Mikoto was looking at him very sternly, but the plan he had in mind required Naruto to do what was necessary. You will be part of the special squad that I have formed to protect this village, Minato said seriously. Naruto now looked at his father and stared at him. To-san, I accept this order and I will fulfill my duty as the shinobi of this village, Naruto sincerely said. Minato smiled briefly at his son, then motioned for him to come forward and gave him a small piece of paper. In a few days you will join boot camp, where you will be mercilessly trained. Right now I want you to find these two people and bring them to me. Do you have any objections? Minato asked seriously. Mikoto was just about to speak when Minato looked at her coldly and told her to be quiet for a few moments. Naruto took a deep breath. It was the biggest decision of his life. He knew the consequences of his actions. He looked at his mother. She looked very worried. He gave her a small reassuring smile, and then turned to his father. I accept, Naruto said honestly. He made his choice. I am proud of you. I fight bravely and with honor and make your country proud, Minato said proudly. I'll do it, Naruto promised. Now find these people before evening and report to me, Minato ordered. Naruto nodded and bowed to his father one last time. He looked at his mother and told her that everything was fine, and was just about to leave when he was stopped. What makes you think you can fight this war? Tsunade asked loudly. She wanted to know why this boy was so willing to risk his life. He was too young for the war, and he was already sent to the special forces. Did his father want him killed? Naruto looked curiously at the blonde woman. Do you know what war is? Tsunade asked sternly. I do not know, Naruto said shortly. Tsunade was very surprised by the boy's answer. She expected him to object, but it seems he was telling the truth. You think that just because your father believes in you, you can fight in the war. War is not a joke. The sound of explosions, people's screams, their fear, your friends will die, and the people you love will die in front of your eyes. Do you still want to fight in the war? Tsunade asked curiously. She didn't know why she was saying all this, but she just couldn't bear to see another boy die. And Naruto reminded her of Navaki, her younger brother. It just seemed like it was yesterday when Navaki was in Naruto's place. Naruto looked at her with sad eyes, which made Tsunade look away from him. Tsunade-sama, you're right, I have no idea what a war is, and I also don't want this war to happen. But if I don't fight, who will? My country, my comrades, my family. And my little brother needs me, and I will not give up, Naruto said firmly. Tsunade grinned. The boy was confident in himself. But now the most serious question has arisen. Do you think you're strong enough to kill a person? It's not easy to take a life, Tsunade said sadly. I can do it, Naruto said coldly, his eyes showing that he really meant what he said. Everyone was shocked when they heard him say such words. I am strong, much stronger than you will ever know. The power I possess, I will use it to protect my brother, and I will kill every enemy who tries to harm him. None of you know or can understand why I'm doing this, but I'm not a useless coward who would give up just because I'm young for war. Even if I'm alone, I'll kill the enemy myself, Naruto said gloomily. Naruto, what is this nonsense? Mikoto asked angrily and slammed her hands on the table, making several cracks. Do you want to fight the enemy alone? Shisui asked worriedly. Minato looked at his son intently. He knew that his son was different. He knew it from the beginning. Meanwhile, Jiraiya's anxiety was growing by the moment, just as the old toad had predicted. If Naruto was the child of prophecy, then, this world is ruthless, but it's also beautiful. I have lived a good life being loved by my parents, my brother and the villagers. I always ask myself, what have I ever done to deserve this? Just because I'm the Hokage's son? It may be true, but they believe in me, my brother believes in me, so I will win no matter what. Naruto said passionately. Naruto, you can't do everything by yourself, you can't beat everyone alone. Mikoto said worriedly. If I can't, I'll just die. But if I win, I will live, Naruto said firmly and left the room. Everyone was shocked to hear this and just stared at each other with wide eyes. Danzo was very impressed that the boy had the traits of a shinobi killer and was not a weakling. Maybe he can win the boy over to his side. Tsunade was also shocked by Naruto's determination. The boy was completely different. Minato, what are you doing with my son? Mikoto asked angrily. Minato calmly looked at his wife. She was very angry, but he had to make her understand. Why are you sending him to the special forces? He's just a kid, Shisui objected. Sensei, I know you have a plan, but don't you think he's too young for any special operations? Asked Kakashi doubtfully. That's it, I will answer all your questions, but you will listen to me and do not interrupt. Am I clear? Minato asked sternly, and everyone nodded except Mikoto, who sternly looked at her husband. Minato sighed wearily. Mikoto was very stubborn when it came to the well-being of Naruto and Itachi. Suddenly, a puff of smoke appeared, and a small bird with a small scroll appeared in front of Minato. Minato took the scroll and opened it with his blood. His eyes widened as he read what was inside. This is exactly what we were afraid of, Minato thought worriedly. What happened, Hokage-sama? Hamura asked curiously. A few hours ago, Willow attacked Kusa and Taki and has now taken control of 2 villages. Some of their special teams are hiding in Suna to strike at us. Last night, Kiri also took control of Nagi Island and surrounded. Kumo's army will be ready in a few days and will attack us from the north. The war has already begun, Minato explained briefly. All the people were shocked when they heard this. How do you know all this? Even my spies haven't heard anything about it. What are you hiding? Jiraiya asked suspiciously. Minato looked at everyone in the room. Now everything has become much worse. He knew he had made a few mistakes, and now they were paying the price. In a sense, he and his eldest son were the same. They both considered it their duty to take on everything alone. He looked at the worried faces of his people. He didn't even tell them about Edo Tensei or new weapons, Akatsuki and much more. The people in the room were the only ones he could trust, well, except Danzo. But now he had to tell them the terrible truth. He couldn't tell it to other shinobi or villagers. Or there would be chaos. Now his only hope depended on the plan he had drawn up and the people in the room. 7 years ago, I started Operation Black Storm, and this is where it all started. Said Minato gloomily. Chapter 10 The Dark Truth. 7 years ago, I started Operation Black Storm, and this is where it all started. Minato said slowly. All the people in the room were very curious about what kind of operation this was. Even the Umbu commander didn't know anything about it, neither Jiraiya, Hiruzen, Mikoto, nor any of the others. What kind of operation is this? Danzo asked intriguingly. Danzo, do you remember what losses our village suffered in the Third Great Ninja War? Asked Minato calmly. Yes, our losses were very high. If it weren't for the Sannin Zoryu, Konoha would have lost the war, Danzo said analytically. But we recovered from that war, didn't we? Asked Hamura curiously. Yes, we did. Now our forces are strong. Although we don't have our Jinchuriki, we still have Jiraiya, Hiruzen, Tsunade, Minato-sama, Mikoto-sama, Kagami, Kakashi, Shursui, all the Umbu forces, and all our forces. We are strong, Koharu said firmly. That may be true, Koharu-san, but right now we are surrounded on all sides. Our forces will be stretched all over the land of fire. Our enemy has very large forces compared to us, and not to mention that they have 5 Jinchuriki too. We are not strong, Shikaku said sharply. Everyone understood the whole situation. Even though they motivated their people, they still had to face reality. They had very little hope of winning the war. That's why I started this black operation, Minato calmly stated. What do you mean? Mikoto asked curiously. She didn't know what secrets her husband was hiding until now. After seeing the losses we suffered, I came to the conclusion that the days when we fought head-on have finally come to an end. I knew that the other villages hated Konoha from the very beginning, and if in some case they joined forces, then we would be on the verge of extinction. So, as you all know, I have carried out all the reforms in our armed forces. Minato began calmly. Everyone listened to him attentively. It seemed that their Hokage was really thinking about a lot. But I knew that wasn't enough, so as soon as I became Hokage, I started creating secret powers, Minato said seriously. Everyone was shocked to hear this, even the Umbu commander. We already have so many force divisions, then why did you create a secret force and why weren't we informed? Hiruzen asked seriously. The enemy knows everything about our forces and all their tactics, just as we know them. So I secretly started these forces to give our village an advantage over our enemies, Minato calmly explained. What's so special about this power? What is it called? Tsunade asked curiously. It's called the Black Light, and they are the first and last line of defense of our village, Minato said honestly. Everyone's eyes widened upon hearing this. The Umbu were the best soldiers of the village, and they couldn't believe what their leader was saying. But Hokage-sama, the Umbu forces, defended the village with their lives, the Umbu commander said. Dragon, it's really true, but Blacklight has been conducting operations behind enemy lines since the end of the Third Great Ninja War. How do you think I got information about the enemy so quickly? Not even the spy network of Jiraiya-sensei knows about them, Minato said honestly. How strong are these Blacklight shinobi? Kakashi asked curiously. Each of them is worth 10 of our chunins. They are the best. Even better than the Umbu, the fact that many of them successfully infiltrated the enemy's ranks without even knowing about it to Jiraiya is proof of their effectiveness. I selected each of them, Minato explained briefly. Tell us about this power in more detail, Kagami said calmly, but he hoped they had such amazing power. If they could stay out of Jiraiya's spy network, then they were the best. Blacklight is an elite special forces group specializing in modern warfare. It's unlike any force you've ever seen, Minato said simply. Why is that? Shursui asked curiously. These are ground, air and naval forces. They have the most advanced weapons and armor. In short, they are the best Cobra commandos in this village, Minato said firmly. What do you mean by air as well as naval combat forces? Mikoto asked seriously. They can penetrate deep into the enemy's rear, by air or by sea. In short, they can fly, as well as swim underwater, with the help of special equipment made for them. Right now, as we speak, the forces of Black Light are destroying the main reserves, the line of the 1st Willow Combat Division in Taki, Minato said with a grin. What? Everyone shouted in shock. Hokage-sama, although I have a lot of faith in you, but it all sounds too good to be true, Shikaku said suspiciously. The fact that there is one Blacklight commando in this room and none of you can feel his presence confirms my point, Minato said triumphantly. As Minato said this, a figure rose from the wooden floor. Everyone's eyes widened when they realized that none of them even knew there was a person in the room. All the people were ninja-level kage or hunin, past wars. This man was wearing black umbu trousers, he had a black bulletproof vest on his chest, his hands were hidden by black gloves, and he was wearing black combat boots. But everyone's eyes widened when they saw the mask of Baku on his face. There was only one person who ever wore this mask, the second Hokage's most trusted Umbu and Konoha's previous Umbu commander, but he should have been dead. Baku? Hiruzen asked in shock. This man was his second in command and died in the Third Great Ninja War. At your service, Hiruzen-sama, the man said firmly and bowed. Baku was a legend of Konoha, he went through 3 wars, was the most trusted person of the second and third Hokage, the previous commander of Umbu Konoha, as well as the best soldier of intelligence and intelligence. Despite the fact that this man was over 60, everyone felt his strength. Baku Taijo, how are you alive? The Umbu commander asked curiously. Baku, you died in the previous war, what's going on here? Danzo asked firmly. Minato stepped forward and now stood next to Baku. It's true that he died in battle, but in fact the enemy deceived us and captured him alive. He was held captive for several months before I myself rescued him from the camp, Minato briefly explained. Is that true? Jiraiya asked cautiously. After so many revelations, he didn't know what was true. Yes, Hokage-sama saved me. The enemy tortured me for several days to get information until he saved me. When I was in the enemy camps, I realized that even if they lost, they would not stop, and a new war was inevitable. After Minato-sama saved me, I told him everything about the enemy's intentions, Baku briefly explained. So, both of you then formed the Blacklight Special Forces, and if we take into account your past experience and track record, you must be the commander of Blacklight, Shikaku said sharply. Smart as always, Nara Shikaku, Baku said firmly. I will let Baku-sen explain the details, he will answer all your questions, Minato said sternly. Baku nodded. We want you to explain everything about your power, Baku-san, Danzo said shortly. After I returned to the village, I started recruiting exceptional shinobi from all over the Land of Fire, as well as from all over the world. Men, women, teenagers and some children, each soldier was unique. They were strong, smart, and some of them also had Kekei Genkai. When I was in the Kyumo POW camp, I heard rumors about the development of advanced weapons, so I knew that the next war would be completely different, Baku briefly explained. While Baku was gathering people, I recruited a team of scientists. They have developed various types of modern weapons and equipment for Blacklight, Minato said seriously. Let's have a demonstration, Baku said firmly. Then he made a manual seal, and 2 shadow clones immediately formed in the center of the room. What are you doing? Kagami asked curiously. Minato told him to wait. Baku signaled to both of his shadow clones, who nodded in response. They jumped away from the tank and took out some shurikens. Everyone tensed up, but succeeded and tried to hide their anxiety, but were surprised when the clones launched several shurikens into their castor oil and jumped to attack him, but they were shocked by what Baku had done. Baku suddenly took out a unique-looking weapon and shot at his clones. To everyone's shock, the weapon released a hail of kunai, and before they could blink, the clones were destroyed along with the shurikens they were shooting. Baku stood calmly and held the weapon, and everyone's jaws dropped to the floor from shock. What the hell was that? Kakashi asked in shock. Even his sharp eyes did not see the kunai that Baku used to shoot his clones. This is a kunai grenade launcher. He launches projectiles at the enemy 10 times faster than shinobi. He can continuously fire multiple shots in the blink of an eye before the enemy can even realize what has happened. He can destroy the whole. He is fast, silent and easy to use. It has a magazine capacity of 50 kunai per round, and it is one of the deadliest weapons ever invented, Minato said proudly. Such a powerful weapon. Amazing. Hokage-sama, we need to arm all our shinobi with this weapon, it can turn the tide of the whole war, Danzo said impatiently. Unfortunately, these weapons are very expensive. Each launcher costs us an annual salary of a hunin, and the materials used to make it are very rare. The only ones who have this weapon are the soldiers of the Black Light, and even among them only the most skilled are given this weapon, Minato said disappointedly. All the people were very disappointed to hear this, but they understood that it was very expensive. They were already facing huge expenses and did not want to increase this debt. Blacklight soldiers are para teams, as well as underwater combat teams. I applied my fuinjutsu skills and created an ink bird that carries our troops behind enemy lines. From there, they can land unnoticed with the help of their special equipment and destroy the enemy. They also have various other weapons, such as 3D maneuverable equipment, explosive bombs, etc. Baku briefly explained. The council members were shocked that their Hokage had conducted such an amazing study. Blacklight soldiers are trained in hand-to-hand combat, ninjutsu, genjutsu, taijutsu and shurikenjutsu. Each soldier must complete a three-dimensional maneuver course. The number of candidates who have completed this course of study is only 5%. Training, then they are divided into intelligence, a strike group, a communications group, a medical unit and an emergency task force, Baku said briefly. Your strength is strong, but how many people do you have under your command? Tsunade asked seriously. I've spent the last 7 years searching for exceptional shinobi and training them diligently. It takes 2 years to fully train Black Light soldiers. I now have 700 soldiers ready for battle, not counting the deep cover agents who have approached the enemy's high command. My army follows one code: either destroy the enemy or die trying, and we will never give up, no matter what. With the number of soldiers I have right now, I can destroy the entire Willow army, Baku confidently stated. Only 700 people? Are you kidding? Asked Koharu mockingly. Koharugaki, these soldiers have been through a hell that none of you have ever seen. You remember that I was the first Umbu Black Plumage of Konoha. Tobarama-sama taught me well. Therefore, I advise you to keep your mouth shut. Baku warned dangerously. Koharu immediately shut her mouth. Baku wasn't the one you messed with. This man was the chief of Koharu, served 3 kages and survived 3 wars. So if he said that such a deadly force was under his command, then it would be wise not to question him. Jiraiya decided it was time to ask his student a few questions. Why didn't Minato tell him about it? He was his teacher, as well as Konoha's master of espionage. Minato looked at his teacher. He knew that Jiraiya must be feeling betrayed since he didn't tell him. Sensei, I know what you're thinking, but I did it to protect our village, Minato said softly. You don't trust my spy network, have you lost faith in my abilities? Jiraiya asked angrily. Not again, Tsunade thought wearily. I've never doubted your abilities or your connections, but I couldn't shift all the responsibility onto you. You and I both know that spying on the 4 great shinobi nations, finding Kushina, as well as monitoring all internal threats to our village is not an easy job. I just divided the work to secure the village, Minato said honestly. Jiraiya just nodded. He didn't like it, but what Minato said was true. However, Hiruzen was a former Kage, and therefore knew that training such a deadly advanced force would cost a fortune. Minato, where did you get the money to train Blacklight, as well as their missions? We have already used all the funds we had, as well as financial assistance from the daimyo to train our armies. I know the records. You wouldn't. We won't have any money left after we spend it on our army. How did you create Blacklight? Hiruzen asked. Frowning, Minato just gritted his teeth, leaving the former Kage to sort everything out. He didn't want this truth to be revealed, but now everyone was looking at him. I have made deals with many criminal authorities. I will allow them to import drugs. alcoholic beverages and some other illegal goods into the country of fire in small quantities. In return, they paid us a lot of money in taxes. Everything was allowed except prostitution and slavery. Gato Industries was one of our main financiers. We also caught rich merchants who were engaged in illegal trade. We gave them a choice, either to provide money, or risk their lives and business. Minato explained shamefully. Everyone couldn't believe what they had just heard. They had never expected such a thing from a person like Minato, but the one who was most shocked was none other than Mikoto. She couldn't believe that her husband had done all this. Now she understood why he hadn't come home for several days. So you were running an extortion racket in your country? Mikoto shouted angrily. Minato lowered his head in shame. He had done several things in his life that he was ashamed of. It was one of them, and right now he couldn't look his wife in the eye. No matter what his reasons were, Mikoto was a righteous person, and he knew that her trust in him was broken. Yes, Minato said sadly. The rest of the people didn't even dare to say a word because they knew that both Minato and Mikoto would cut off their heads if they interfered. How could you? I trusted you, and you did it, said Mikoto with tears in her eyes. Kagami didn't know what to say. On the one hand, he was angry at Minato for breaking his daughter's trust, but his rational side knew that his son-in-law had done what the Hokage should have done. But still, he was the father of the girl, and his daughter was more important to him. Shursui was just silent. He just didn't know what to say. He did the right thing, Baku said firmly. Shut up, both of you have committed serious crimes, used drugs, alcohol, extortion. What righteous reason do you have to justify your actions? You must have done things even more terrible than that, Mikoto said accusingly. We did, we had to make a choice. The lives of several hundred against the lives of all the people in Konoha, as well as in the land of fire. Minato made his choice. He decided to do something that will forever remain in his soul, Baku said aggressively. The reason why Minato Namikaze is trusted with Konoha's safety is because he had the courage to do what was right. He succeeded where Shodai and also Sandaime failed. Ready to make sacrifices, the one who can throw away his humanity to defeat the enemy. The one who cannot sacrifice something will never change anything. Baku said furiously. But, Tsunade said, but was cut off. The information you received about Willow's promotion, do you know how you got it? Baku asked sternly. No, tell us, Tsunade said shortly. 5 of my best soldiers died to get this information. Their names will never be remembered. Their end was not glorious. They died in the shadows, believing that their sacrifice would give hope to their people. None of you have the right to protest. Minato is doing the right thing, his son is doing the right thing, and this makes him better than all of you, Baku said sternly. A shiver ran down Mikoto's back. Her husband was sending her child to blacklight. Minato Namikaze, Mikoto said with barely contained anger. Minato's determination had strengthened a little after Baku's performance, and now he looked coldly at his wife. He didn't know if his wife would stay with him after that, but he had to do it. Are you sending my little boy to this suicidal force? Mikoto asked furiously. He volunteered for this, Minato said without emotion. Mikoto couldn't believe her husband was saying that. It wasn't the man she loved. He's a kid, Minato. I won't allow it. Mikoto said firmly. You have no power. Naruto is a registered shinobi of Konoha, and as such, he is an adult. He has the right to make his own choice. And he made his choice. Besides, you can't influence the Hokage's decision, Baku said seriously. Why do you need Naruto so much? Shursui asked worriedly. He didn't want his nephew to be killed, and blacklight was dangerous. He knew that if something happened to Naruto, Mikoto wouldn't be able to bear it. She loved her sons to death. Naruto has a power unseen since the time of Nidaime Hokage. Minato said slowly. What do you mean? Tsunade asked curiously. What does her uncle have to do with it? I sent a sample of Naruto's genes and a sample of his blood for testing. When he unlocked his chakra, I knew there was some hidden power in him. I also sent Itachi's genes and blood for testing, Minato said, shocking Mikoto. And also? Danzo asked curiously. Both of my boys have great strength, Minato said a little proudly. What power? Kagami asked curiously. Naruto has the ability to control water. The results showed that he will be a master of the water style. The biologist believes that very soon he will surpass Tobirama Senju. Also there are signs of Kekei Genkai on his body, we are not sure what it is. He is also smart and able to motivate people in impossible situations. He is just the kind of soldier we need in Blacklight, Baku proudly declared. Before Mikoto could protest, Danzo intervened again. And your youngest son? Danzo asked curiously. Minato clenched his teeth in anger. Couldn't the man just give him a break? He had already dealt with an angry wife. He has the ability to form fire, his chakra is also strong, but weak compared to his brother. Whether he has a Kekei Genkai or not, we are not sure, but he is also exceptional, just like his older brother. Boys, he has a better chance of activating Sharingan, Minato said softly. I want my son to get out of this mess right now. Mikoto demanded. The only way to get him out is if he refuses to join Blacklight himself. There is no other way out, Minato said wearily. I'm leaving, Mikoto said firmly. Wait, Minato said hurriedly. Mikoto turned to face him and gave him the most murderous look she gave her enemies. I won't let you sacrifice my little boy, not for Konoha, not for anyone, said Mikoto furiously. Then she left the room, roughly slamming the door. None of the people knew what to say until Jiraiya thought. God, women look so sexy when they're angry, Jiraiya said with a chuckle. Then he took out his little notebook and began to write something. The whole room was flooded with ki, the air turned cold, and everyone was shocked to see the dark aura around Tsunade. Jiraiya baka. Tsunade said too gently. Oh shit, said Jiraiya in a panic. Tsunade hit Jiraiya hard in the face, and he flew into the wall. Everyone just sighed wearily. It will be another hour before Jiraiya wakes up and they can continue the meeting. Minato and Hiruzen slapped their foreheads in frustration, but they both had the same thought. Kami-sama really hates us. With Mikoto walked through the streets of Konoha. Everyone was very surprised and shocked when they realized that small cracks appeared on the ground she was walking on. Her chakra flared dangerously. No one dared to stand in her way. Damn it, there is no rage like a despised woman. She still couldn't believe that her husband had done all this. She was a person who always valued morality, while Minato was the opposite. She could even forget what he did, but send her son straight to the gates of hell. She didn't care if he could surpass Nidaime, or if he had a Kekei Genkai, even if he was the smartest person in the world. She wouldn't let him go. How dare this little blonde idiot volunteer to do this? What the hell is he, out of his mind? He was sure that otherwise who would have agreed to join the special forces, more dangerous than the Umbu, voluntarily. One thought only flashed through Mikoto's mind, Naruto Namikaze, I will kill you. With Naruto, he was disappointed. For the last 2 hours, he had been trying to find not only the boy, but also the girl on his father's orders. What was the girl's name? Mick. Damn it, I forgot again. Naruto thought angrily. The locals gave him a place where he could find these two people, but the road was very confusing. Then he turned into an alley and, to his surprise and shock, found his target. Here it is. However, Naruto was shocked when he saw her face. She looks great, Naruto thought, blushing slightly. Then he remembered the name, as well as the details that the locals had given him. Everything coincided. He decided to do what he came to do. Hey, you, Chapter 11 True Minato Namikaze. Hey, you. Mikasa Ackerman? Naruto asked curiously. The girl's name is Mikasa. She had jet black hair that reached to her shoulders. She had a very cute face, and Naruto was amazed by this fact, that Mikasa is very similar to his mother. She was wearing a plain gray skirt, white sandals on her feet and a small black t-shirt, but the most beautiful were her calm blue eyes. Surprised, that would be the right word to describe how Naruto was feeling right now. He had seen some beautiful girls in his village, but Mikasa was also very pretty. The girl named Mikasa looked at him with a calm expression on her face. "Yes, I am Mikasa, who are you?" Mikasa asked calmly, and again the amazing question asked by the girl. Most of the villagers knew who he was, but it seemed like she didn't know his identity or didn't want to talk. But then he remembered that she was an orphan and lived in an orphanage, and people described her as a very detached person. "I'm Naruto Namikaze, nice to meet you," Naruto said with a smile, and held out his hand to shake hers. Mikasa's eyes widened for a moment before they calmed down again. She looked at him calmly, her blue eyes boring into Naruto's soul. Then she gently shook his hand. "Nice to meet you, Naruto-san. Now can you tell me why Hokage's son is looking for me?" Mikasa asked sharply. She has never been a person of diplomacy. If she needed to say something, she said it directly. Mikasa believed that there was no point in talking vaguely. If you want to say something, speak honestly, and the fact that the Hokage's son was looking for her could not be a coincidence. Naruto was quite surprised by the girl's sharp question. He liked that she was very direct. "Well, Hokage-sama sent me to tell you this personally," Naruto said seriously. Then he handed her the note that his father had given him. He called his father Hokage, since he was now an official envoy, and he knew what was right. If he didn't respect his father's position, then people didn't respect him either. He knew what was in that note, and the reaction he got from Mikasa surprised him. She calmly read the contents of the note. For a short time Naruto noticed a slight shock on her face, but she very quickly learned to express her expression. After a few moments, she looked at Naruto seriously. Naruto noticed that her eyes were fixed on a couple of people who were watching them, and received her message. The girl was very observant and quite intelligent. Both nodded and moved away from the crowd. None of them seemed to be talking during the walk, and Naruto fell into an awkward silence. Meanwhile, Mikasa was walking in silence. A lot was going through her mind. Hokage asked her opinion on whether she wanted to join a secret task force that would protect Konoha during the war. No further details were reported. The message was clear. She had 2 weeks to make a decision and report to the Hokage, and if she doesn't want to join, then all memories of this incident will be quietly erased from her memory, so it remains a secret. She looked at Naruto carefully. The boy was mysterious. He seemed friendly, but she noticed how perceptive he was when he understood her message about going somewhere alone without words. Just take a look and he understood her perfectly. He seemed very calm and patiently walked with her. Most kids their age would ask her a lot of questions, and Naruto was the son of Hokage. She thought he must be a little arrogant, but he seemed nice and friendly. Despite the fact that he was a noble person in Konoha, he did not feel awkward walking and talking with such a simple orphan like her. After a few moments, the couple reached a secluded corner where no one was. Naruto looked at Mikasa seriously. "What's your opinion?" Naruto asked seriously, all the playfulness gone from his voice. "I need to think about it. There is still a lot to think about," Mikasa said hesitantly. "I see. I'll give your message to Hokage-sama. If you make a decision, please inform him immediately at the Hokage Tower," Naruto briefly explained. "I see, thank you," Mikasa said shortly. There was silence between the pair until Mikasa decided to ask something. "Are you joining the force too?" Mikasa asked curiously. Naruto looked at her for a few seconds. Her expression was calm, and she seemed genuinely interested. "Yes, I am. I will defend this village at any cost," Naruto said decisively. Mikasa looked seriously at the blonde boy. His words were firm, and the look in his black eyes showed her that he really meant what he said. Why? Mikasa asked, what do you mean? Naruto asked curiously, why do you want to risk your life in such a dangerous army? You can join the regular troops, why are you purposefully risking your life? Asked Mikasa curiously. She wanted to know what prompted Naruto to make the decision. Like her, he must have also been asked to make a choice. She wanted to know what his true goal was, because they were both facing a similar choice, with the only difference being that Naruto had already made his choice. Naruto looked at her with a very distant expression on his face. It's because when I look at these people, they make me remember my family. Everyone has their own role. I was born in this village, so it is my duty to fight for it and protect it at any cost. This world is ruthless, Mikasa, but he is also beautiful. There are so many things I would gladly give my life to protect. My father says that there is a special power in me. I do not know what it is, but my grandfather taught me that with great power comes great responsibility, as well as sacrifice. I'm ready to make a sacrifice. The question is, and you? Naruto asked seriously. Mikasa's eyes widened a little when she heard this. Naruto was so serious, as if he knew what he was doing, but none of that mattered to her anymore anyway. Then she couldn't even do anything. Then you will die following this dream of yours, Mikasa said sharply. So what? Naruto asked rudely, what happened to this girl? She was even more mysterious than he was. Now it was Mikasa's turn to be shocked. Naruto didn't know what death was. You don't know what death is, you're talking about dying for this village. You think that if you die defending this village, your death will be glorious, but the reality is different. When you die, everything you wanted, your dream, the people you love, they all die with you. Your body rots in the barren earth until it completely disappears. The only thing that matters in this world is survival, Mikasa said sharply. It's better to die following your dream than to lose hope and give up. I won't let any of my comrades die, Naruto said aggressively. It's your choice, it's your life. I will inform the Hokage of my decision. Is there anything else you need from me? Mikasa asked stoically. Dude, she's so rude, Naruto thought dejectedly, but still, he needed her help to find the next target. Well, sort of, Naruto said confusedly. Mikasa narrowed her eyes suspiciously. She grew up in a cruel world. Her parents died, so she had to live more carefully. She saw how insidious and deceitful people were, and when someone started messing around, everything was always suspicious. What do you need? Mikasa asked categorically. I need your help in finding Armin Arlert, Naruto said firmly. The locals told him that Mikasa and Armin know each other, and this would help him find Armin easily, if Mikasa were with him, but Naruto was shocked when Mikasa approached him with lightning speed and hit him a little roughly against the wall. Her hands grabbed his shirt rather roughly, and she looked at him very sternly. Only one thought flashed through Naruto's mind, she's too fast. Naruto thought surprisingly. Why do you need it? Keep him away from this, he's my only family, Mikasa warned dangerously. Naruto was quite surprised by her aggressive behavior. It seemed that Mikasa and Armin were quite close. Armin was also an orphan, his parents were shinobi who died shortly after the Third Great Ninja War, while his grandfather died in the war. The origin of Mikasa was completely unknown. She was found almost dead somewhere in the Fiery Land. The details were classified, and his father didn't tell him anything else. She was a mystery to everyone. Naruto grabbed her hand and pulled it away, then sternly looked at her. Look, it's not my choice, I'm just following orders. If he doesn't want to join, he will be left alone, but for now, help me find him, because Umbu won't be as friendly as me, Naruto said sternly. Mikasa's shoulders sagged in defeat. It seemed that she had no say in this matter. She looked at Naruto for a moment. She knew he was just following orders, and she was being pretty rude, but Armin was her only family and she wouldn't let anything happen to him. I'm sorry, Mikasa said shortly, then she walked away. After walking a few steps, she looked at Naruto again, who was still shocked by her apology. "Are you coming?" Mikasa asked patiently. Naruto came out of his stupor and ran to her. "I really attract mysterious people," Naruto thought with a chuckle. Konoha Council Hall. The whole council was in session. Jiraiya had just woken up after a lot of warnings and requests. Simultaneously with Minato and Hiruzen, Tsunade confessed that she had let Jiraiya go, for now. "Shikaku, what plan do you propose considering our whole situation?" asked Minato seriously. Shikaku closed his eyes, his mind processing information faster than any other person in this room. Surrounded from all sides, there are not enough military personnel, deadly special forces, several Kage-level shinobi and various other unknown traps. "You used to come up with a plan, you need to know a little more information." "May I, Hokage-sama?" asked Baku shortly. Minato thought about Baku's offer. He needed to tell everything now, otherwise there would be chaos on the battlefield when the truth became known. A tired sigh escaped his lips. "As you all know, Willow, Kiri and Kumo are behind this war." "However, that's not true," Minato said slowly. Many people became curious. If these three villages were not a real threat, then who was? "What did you say?" Hamura asked curiously. "Those who are actually the mastermind behind this war are an organization called Akatsuki," Minato said firmly. "Akatsuki, what kind of name is that?" Koharu asked mockingly. "I would advise you not to treat them lightly. As far as we know, this organization should consist of the most dangerous missing nines in this shinobi world," Minato said gloomily. Everyone was shocked to hear this. It was not very usual for the missing nines to cooperate with each other. "Do we know their identities?" Hiruzen asked curiously. Minato looked sympathetically at the former Kage. It really should have broken the old man's heart even more. "We have identified two of their members, one of them." "Orochimaru," Baku said bitterly. A couple of shocked voices could be heard in the room. Orochimaru was the biggest traitor of their village in Akatsuki. This man was a monster and one of the most evil people ever born in the world. He was a disciple of the third Hokage, a Sannin and the best scientist in the world. What this man did was inhumane, and he had no regrets. "Are you sure about this, Hokage-sama?" Shursui asked hesitantly, even if he didn't want to face Sannin in battle. Meanwhile, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Hiruzen were shocked to hear this. Despite what this man has become, he was once part of their team, friend and family. There was only one thought running through their heads: how low can you fall further, Orochimaru? The trio thought sadly. The information is absolute, there is no mistake. "However, he is not the leader of this group," Baku said calmly. "What? He is not the one who will work under someone else's rule," said Tsunade in shock. "Unfortunately, there is a person who is more powerful than him, and he even calls this person his leader," Minato said bitterly. "Impossible, this can't be happening." Silence. Minato's angry voice pierced everyone's soul, and they immediately stopped their conversations. "Who is the other participant?" Jiraiya asked sharply. "This is the one you thought was dead, sensei." Minato said gloomily. A shiver ran down Jiraiya's spine. Could it be these three? "The other Akatsuki member we identified is a woman. By the name of Konan," Minato said firmly. Jiraiya couldn't believe what he had heard. His disciple had become a criminal and Orochimaru's comrade. He knew Konan better. She was a very kind girl. What could have made her fall so low? What happened to her? Where the hell were Yahiko and Nagato? Suddenly, a terrifying revelation became clear to Jiraiya. Is it really him? Who is this Konan? Kakashi asked curiously. Konan Kaname, master of origami ninjutsu, paper, and earth-style ninjutsu. Her genjutsu and taijutsu were good, S-rank kunoichi from Amage Cure. Her intelligence is not inferior to Minato's, Jiraiya said grimly. How do you know so much about her? Hiruzen asked suspiciously. There was a time in the war when Jiraiya went AWOL, and Tsunade and Orochimaru covered for him. Although Jiraiya wasn't fighting on the front line, he was still providing Konoha with information. This mystery seemed to be a connection to Jiraiya's disappearance. Tsunade's eyes widened as she remembered who this girl was. Konan was one of 3 orphans whom Jiraiya had trained and cared for during the war. She was just about to tell the truth, but when she looked at Jiraiya's broken face, her will broke. Jiraiya was acting like an idiot, but he was the only friend she had left in this world. The man loved her and did everything he could for her, asking nothing in return. She would never admit it, but Jiraiya was the dearest person in her life, and to see him in such a broken state was sad for her. From the outside, it seemed that Jiraiya was a normal person, but Tsunade knew him much better than anyone else. There was a time in the past when they were in a relationship and they both shared a secret. She knew that if the council heard that Konan was a student of Jiraiya, then there would be a lot of questions that Jiraiya would not want to answer. Something must remain in the past, as well as what they hid. I'm a spy in this village, where I get information from is none of your business. So let's go, Jiraiya said angrily. We didn't mean disrespect to Jiraiya-sama, Shikaku said quickly. These old bats must have angered a lot of people. She's not a leader either, but that's not the worst news, Minato said sadly. What could be worse than this? Danzo asked rudely. Orochimaru perfected this kenjutsu, Sandame-sama, Minato said seriously. Hiruzen's eyes widened like saucers when he heard these words. It couldn't be true. What kind of jutsu? Kagami asked worriedly. Edo Tensei, Minato said angrily. Everyone in the room was shocked. Jutsu was the most dangerous thing in the world. Even the tailed beast bomb wasn't as dangerous as this jutsu, because it couldn't be destroyed, nor the people who control it. It gave you an immortal army that couldn't be stopped and couldn't be destroyed. This only makes the situation worse, sensei. Do we have any idea who Orochimaru is controlling through this justa? Kakashi asked seriously. Minato looked at his student sadly. He wouldn't like it. Hashirama Senju, Tobirama Senju, Tsukumo Hatake, Mito Uzumaki Senju, and one unknown shinobi, Baku said furiously. Now everyone's eyes were wide open like saucers. Did Kami really hate them? This is a joke, right? Koharu asked fearfully. Do I look like I'm joking, Koharugaki? Asked Baku irritably. No, Koharu said shortly. Then shut up, or I'll rip your panties out, said Baku angrily. Hearing this comment, everyone chuckled slightly, and Koharu's face was as clear as a tomato. Only 2 people were not amused by this, and it was Kakashi and Tsunade. Sensei, is my father really under control? Is there a way to free him and the others? Kakashi asked worriedly. Despite the differences he had with his father, he still loved him, and it was unacceptable for him to see his father's soul being insulted. Edo Tensei can only be stopped by the caster himself, or if the person being controlled is somehow able to free himself. Other than that, there is no other possible path that we don't know about yet, Minato briefly explained. Hi, Kakashi said dejectedly. Do my uncle and grandfather know that they are being controlled? Asked Tsunade sharply. We are not sure, but based on what information we have, Orochimaru did not start jutsu, so at the moment nothing can be said unequivocally, Baku said briefly. Unpleasant, Shikaku said worriedly. Hokage-sama, with such dangerous enemies, I will need more soldiers in the dark, but all my forces are either on the front line or behind enemy lines, and I personally don't have time to look for exceptional recruits. Do you have any other possible candidates who can help us win this war? Baku asked urgently. This time Minato nodded confidently and took out a large folder from the drawer of the wooden table. I knew it wouldn't be easy, so I selected 300 more recruits myself. All of them are capable. Minato said firmly. I would like to know some of their capabilities. Since all the people here are the most trusted people in this village, it would be good if they heard that we still have talented warriors in our country who will help us win this war. Baku requested. Minato thought about Baku's offer and looked at all the people in the room. They definitely need something to cheer themselves up, and Baku's offer was the right one. I'll tell you something, but remember that this is top secret information that you won't reveal to anyone, not to mention that you can still do it, Minato said with a smirk. What do you mean? Danzo asked suspiciously. It's none of your business, or you want me to cut off your head, Minato said dangerously. I have put seals on all your bodies, even if you wanted to say, you will never be able to tell anyone about the black light or our strategy. Even Yamanaka won't be able to break through, because if they try to do that, both parties will die. Minato thought slyly that he was a Kage, and if all Kages knew one thing, it was never to blindly trust anyone. This was the biggest rule in the shinobi world. Over the years, Minato has marked all Soviet and military leaders with his seals, so no important secrets are revealed. Minato then took out the file and began to briefly read its contents. Naruto Namikaze, a strong water style user. Kekai Genkai is unknown, the rest of the skills are classified. A sense of intelligence at the level of Chunin, as well as good leadership skills. The current heir of the Namikaze clan and the eldest son of the fourth Hokage Mikasa Ackerman is a balanced person. Keeps calm under any circumstances, has unnatural speed and strength. The rest of the information is classified. Armin Arlert, the smartest in his generation. Has an IQ above 200, although physically weak, but has all the possible traits to become the next commander of the Hunins of this village. The rest of the skills are classified. Enko Matarasi, a cool girl. Specializes in taijutsu and ninjutsu. One of the most dangerous in her generation. Yugao Yuzuki, a gifted kunoichi with a great talent for fencing and a good command of lightning. Hana Inazuka, daughter of Tsum Inazuka and heiress of the Inazuka clan. The best recruit for the intelligence team or a good addition for the strike team. The rest of the skills are classified. Hayate Gecko is another talented kid. He has a great talent for fencing and fire ninjutsu. A good scout. The rest of the skills are classified. Aoba Yamashiro, a good censor, has great talent in genjutsu. Shizen Kato, who has great talent in medical ninjutsu, has every chance of beating Tsunade Senju in a few decades. A good recruit for the medical unit. Ranjaku Matsumoto, born with a powerful chakra, has classified abilities. A very promising candidate for the strike team. Izumi Kamizuki, specializes in weapons and water-style ninjutsu. Kotetsu Hagane, specializes in weapons and has a strong fire style. Yamato Noera, a powerful earth-style user, has tremendous stamina and strength. The rest of the skills are classified. A promising recruit for the intelligence unit. Genma Shiranui, a strong fire-style owner, has tremendous speed and intelligence. Rado, specializes in taijutsu and weapons. Iwashi, a rare fuinjutsu specialist and one of the best recruits of the communication group and the emergency task force. The military council was quite surprised to learn about the existence of such powerful children. There were probably many more such outstanding children. With proper training, they can become a deadly force capable of destroying any enemy. Another 284 such children were selected for Blacklight. If they agree to join, train them well and I expect good results, Minato ordered. As you wish, Hokage-sama, Baku said sincerely. He was satisfied. If there was one thing he liked about Minato, it was that he never hesitated. He had the courage to do what was necessary, and he didn't care what others thought. Minato was so similar to Tobirama, the way they ruled, their thoughts, even their faces were similar. They were both masters of teleportation. If it were possible to say, "This is good news," Shursui said with relief. Hokage-sama, I have a plan that will help us gain an advantage over our enemy, Shikaku said firmly. What's on your mind? Minato asked curiously. Then Shikaku stared at Baku. Baku Taijo, with your current strength, do you think you can hold the entire front? How long will it take to train these recruits? Asked Shikaku curiously. Yes, I can hold the entire front with my current forces, but without reinforcements we will suffer heavy losses. My forces are strong, and they can destroy an entire army in battle, but if we had to hold the entire front, we would be stretched, and the enemy would most likely crush us, Baku sincerely explained. Hokage-sama, I propose to divide our entire army into 5 divisions, Shikaku said shortly, then Shikaku pointed to the map of the shinobi world. We are right in the middle of the shinobi world. I plan to divide our forces into 5 divisions. The first unit will be a medium-range combat unit, which will be deployed directly on the borders of Kumo. It will be a combat unit of 4,000 shinobi. The second division will be a short-range combat force. Now it will play an important role in the war, because it will penetrate into the river country, which is right next to Kusa and very close to Willow. Willow armies usually have shinobi. With earthly proximity, they prefer close combat, and the second squad will cope with them best. It will consist of 4,000 shinobi ready to fight. The third division will be a short and medium-range combat division. It will be deployed in the Land of Waves, and its main objective will be to hold Kiri's forces and prevent any sudden Kumo attacks from the sea. She will have 5,000 shinobi ready to fight. There will be a large number of black umbu in this division. The fourth division will be a long-range combat division. It will be deployed next to the first division. Its main goal is to destroy the advanced Kumo forces and infiltrate their country. It will also provide tactical support to the third division in the wave. In case of an emergency, there will be 3,000 shinobi in it. The fifth division will be a special combat division. It will consist of our Kekaigenkai shinobi and all Kiri rebel forces. It will be deployed right in the center of the country of fire. Each division will need support, and the main purpose of this division will provide reinforcements for all divisions and supplies. But first of all, he will support the soldiers of the Black Light and protect the southern region of the Land of Fire. Why is that? Minato asked firmly. I plan to deploy all the forces of the Black Light on the borders of Willow, Taki and Kusa. They will hold the enemy as long as possible, and when the second division infiltrates Willow territory from the river country, then with the support of the 5th division, Black Light will also be able to move forward and destroy Willow. But the losses in the dark will be very high, Danzo argued. You forget Danzo-san, Blacklight paratroopers, they can destroy the enemy faster than any of our units. The reason they are stationed there is because Willow likes to attack head-on. With the weapons that the Black Light forces have, they can destroy the enemy both from the air and from the ground. Plus, they will be supported by the 2nd Division, as well as the 5th Division. The casualty will be high, but that's what they're trained for, Shikaku briefly explained. What about the medical unit? There will be many wounded from all fronts, Tsunade urgently said. Yes, a small company of our best medics will be stationed in Hazuko. This is a small base that we created during the previous war. It is very close to all divisions, so you can easily transfer the wounded there while the battle is going on. There will also be several field medics in the units. In case of emergency, we can send a Blacklight medical unit, Shikaku said briefly. Can I make a suggestion? Kagami asked briefly. Minato nodded. If there was anything he knew about Kagami, that he was a good tactician. I recommend forming a small surprise attacking unit. While Blacklight will be able to cope with Iva, the rest of the companies also need some tactical support. This surprise unit can carry out black attack missions with the support of the 5th Division, Kagami suggested. A very good idea. We still have a few shinobi left, and they can be transferred to this unit, Hiruzen said shortly. In order to maintain communication and data transmission at Intel, we also need to form an intelligence unit, Kakashi said briefly. So it will be, together with the Intel division, I will create a sensor that will provide us with updated information about the enemy, transmit information and maintain communication between our various divisions, Minato said sternly. But what about our internal security? There should be some kind of law and order in the village. Our shinobi will be on the front line. How should we keep the peace in the village? Asked Hamura briefly. The police will keep the peace in the village. Some people from my clan, as well as some powerful shinobi, will help you keep the peace in the village, Kagami said confidently. Everything has been decided, whether anyone has any objections, suggestions. Speak now, Minato ordered. None of the participants responded like that. Minato realized that everyone agreed with this plan. Shikaku, you are the best strategist in this world. We are proud to have someone like you in our power. You and the Nara clan are the pride of this village, Minato proudly praised. It's a troublesome job, but we will always protect this village. Hokage-sama, you need to appoint commanders for different units, Shikaku suggested. Jiraiya-sensei will be the commander of the first division, Minato said firmly. Jiraiya nodded curtly, indicating that he agreed to work. Hiruzen-sama will be the commander of the second division. With his experience and intelligence, he can penetrate the boundaries of Willow very quickly, Minato ordered. I will lead them to victory, Hiruzen said firmly. Kakashi, while you are young, your intelligence is on par with Hokage, you participated in the war and are respected by the whole village. You're a hero, a bloody icon. Your people will face a dangerous enemy. And they will need a man like you at the front. I'm appointing you commander of the 3rd Division. The 3rd Division will defend Konoha to the last man. I give you my word, the enemy will not pass through our front lines. This is a promise, Kakashi said furiously. He was very angry that his father was being used in this way and his village was in danger. He would protect Konoha at any cost. It was Kakashi Hatake, a famous ninja impersonator and the last remaining student of the famous Yellow Flash. I will be the commander of the 4th Division, as well as the supreme commander of our army. Under normal circumstances, I would stay away from the front, but this time I will be at the front from the very beginning, and I plan to destroy Kumo's armies with my Hiroshin. Minato said firmly. We believe in you, Hokage-sama, Shikaku said confidently. Kagami-san, you are a war veteran, just like the shinobi Kekkei Genkai. I am appointing you as the combat commander of the 5th squad. Our whole life will depend on the actions of your squad, Minato said shortly. We won't let you down, Kagami said firmly. Tsunade-sama, you are the head of the medical unit, and my wife Mikoto Namikaze is your deputy. Please protect the lives of our shinobi with your skills, Minato said seriously. I will save as many lives as possible and manage all the logistics with the help of Mikoto. You can count on the medical unit, Tsunade said confidently. Shursui, you will be the captain of the surprise attack division. Like Kakashi, you are also one of our bravest shinobi. Lead your people, okay? Your commander will be Danzo Shimura. He has experience of 3 wars. I believe the best from both of you, Minato ordered. Hi, Hokage-sama. I won't let you down, Shursui said firmly. I will not allow anyone to harm Konoha. We will do our duty, Danzo said shortly. Inoichi will be the head of the intelligence unit and will give us the information, and Takon Kurama will be the commander of the sensor division. Shikaku, you will stay with Inoichi and Takon's units at our headquarters and coordinate all our work. Armies and create new strategies, Minato said seriously. It's unpleasant, it's a lot of work. But I will do my best, Shikaku said wearily. Hamura-san, Koharu-san, you two are also war veterans. I am appointing you as the head of Konoha's internal security forces. You will maintain peace in this village with the help of the police and our shinobi guards, Minato ordered. Yes, Hokage-sama. We will protect Konoha from all the enemies in this village, Koharu and Hamura said in unison. This meeting is over. Report to your stations and make sure your people are ready in the next 24 hours. All of you can leave except Jiraiya-sensei, Tsunade-sama and Hiruzen-sama, Minato said shortly. Everyone bowed low to their Hokage and quickly left the room. They all had important jobs, now they were at war, and the lives of their people depended on their decisions. Being a leader sucks. Once the room was cleared, Minato brutally destroyed the entire wooden table with his bare hands. Then he shot a murderous glance at the trio standing in front of him, pulling out a scroll from his pocket. He angrily tossed it to Jiraiya. "What the hell is this?" hissed Minato furiously. Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Hiruzen looked at the scroll and immediately realized what was going on. That's how he found out. Sigh, he's smart, just like his father, Hiruzen thought wearily. "I sent Naruto, Itachi's genes and DNA for testing, and guess what I found?" asked Minato sarcastically. "We can explain," Tsunade said worriedly. Minato was a good person, but if someone made him angry, it would be their last mistake. Tsunade doubted that she could block Hiroshina. Minato, this man could instantly chop off her head if he wanted to. "It was a top secret that we kept hidden for the rest of our lives," Jiraiya said slowly. "We did it because we were ordered to do it," Tsunade said softly. Hiruzen stepped forward and stared at Minato. Both Hokage exchanged glances, which meant a dark secret that had to be revealed. There is a reason why Naruto has the ability to control water, is a good sensor and has a powerful chakra. "You are the only person in this world who can perform Hiroshin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique, and that's because," Chapter 12 The long-awaited farewell. There is a reason why Naruto has the ability to control water, has a powerful chakra and sensory skills. "On the other hand, you are the only person in the world who can perform Hiroshin because," said Hiruzen, but was cut off. "I'm Tobirama Senju's son," Minato said calmly, but his voice showed that he was also a little annoyed. "Yes, you are the only son of Tobirama Ozasan and a member of the Senju clan." "Well, in any case, what's left of him," Tsunade said sadly. "The Senju clan fought valiantly in 3 wars and defended Konoha, but they all sacrificed their lives. Even the Uchiha were reduced to a very small number of active members." Other villages specifically targeted the shinobi of these clans because they knew if the founding clans of Konoha would be destroyed, then it would be easier to destroy Konoha. "Why was I never told about this?" Minato asked sternly, looking sternly at everyone. "That's because it was your mother's last wish," Jiraiya said seriously. "My mother?" Minato asked in shock. "Of course, Baka, where do you think you got such views from?" said Jiraiya, embarrassed. "Jiraiya, now is not the time," Tsunade said sternly. Jiraiya grinned in embarrassment, while Hiruzen and Tsunade slapped their foreheads. "What was her name?" Minato asked sadly. Never knowing anything about his mother is a condition he didn't wish on anyone. Tsunade came forward and put her hand on the young man's shoulders. After all, he was her family. "Her name was Toka Senju. She was a kind woman, the exact opposite of your father. She was pregnant in the last days of the first great ninja war. Unfortunately, your father sacrificed his life to save his team," Tsunade said sadly. "She was very young then, but she could never forget her uncle and aunt. Tobirama was a strict man, but he loved her very much, and Toka took care of her as if she were her own daughter." "What happened to her?" Minato asked quietly. "There were complications during your birth, and she was left with 2 choices. Either give birth to you and die in the process, or save yourself. She decided to save you at the cost of her life," Tsunade said softly. A single tear rolled down from Minato's eyes. The thought of his mother sacrificing herself for him made him feel sadder and more helpless. "She was a good thinker and knew that your father had made a lot of enemies, even in the village itself. Unlike you, your father was not popular with the Uchiha. She feared for your safety. Senju and Uchiha were always on the alert. Thin ice. Since the founding of this village after your father's death, there were very less powerful Senju. There was also a risk of a new war, so she asked us to keep your identity a secret. They wouldn't call you Senju, she just wanted you to live and live happy," Tsunade explained softly. "Why? Why save me? She could have survived. Could she have another chance at life?" Minato asked sadly. He felt responsible for her death. If only he had died, his mother would be alive and living a happy life. "It's not your fault," Women are strange creatures, they love us men, despite all our shortcomings and mistakes. They are the reason for our existence, and your mother was a person who did not hesitate to sacrifice her life for the son she loved. More than anything in the world, Jiraiya kindly explained. You know, Naruto's character is similar to Tokusama, he is kind and gentle, but very strong-willed, Tsunade said with a laugh. Minato's heart relaxed a little after hearing that maybe one day he would be able to meet his mother and thank her for everything she had done for him. The Namikaze were a small family, and when I discussed it with your foster parents, they readily agreed and kept it a secret until their death. But they loved you as if you were their own, Hiruzen explained seriously. Minato nodded, but there were still questions he wanted to ask. Tsunade-sama, does anyone else besides the three of you know about this? Minato asked seriously. The trio immediately bit their lips. Besides them there was another person who knew the whole truth. There is another person who knows this truth, Hiruzen said gloomily. Who is this? Minato asked firmly. Orochimaru, with Naruto and Mikasa walked silently through the alleys of Konoha. Both were walking close to each other, but there seemed to be no verbal communication between them. Naruto felt a little annoyed. This girl was very quiet. She never said anything to him, but only spoke when he asked for directions. That he wasn't a spoiled brat and behaved very well with her. Then why did she completely ignore him? You must be thinking, why am I ignoring you? Mikasa asked calmly. Naruto was very surprised that she could read his mind so easily. Mikasa just looked at him knowingly. I don't usually talk to strangers, no offense, Mikasa said shortly. Why is that? Naruto asked curiously. We live in an insidious world, everyone wants something from you. There's always a catch, and if you want to survive, the only one you can trust is yourself. Not only shinobi lie and steal, but other normal people also do it consciously or unconsciously. You should always be careful when you don't have family and friends to protect you, Mikasa briefly explained. I won't say that I understand how you feel, because I grew up in a family. But I don't have any friends, Naruto said sadly. Mikasa became curious that Naruto was the son of Hokage, and he could practically be friends with anyone. Most kids would like to make friends with someone like him. Why is that? Mikasa asked curiously. Every person my age wants to be my friend because I am the son of Hokage. They are only interested in me, because I am the heir of the Namikaze clan. The only one they see in me is Naruto Namikaze, and not as a person. It is better not to have friends at all, and not to have those who are only interested in your fame and power, Naruto briefly explained. Mikasa looked at Naruto sadly. It seemed that even for him everything was not so good. But it was a life full of hardship and loneliness. I see, Mikasa said softly. Is Armin a good friend of yours? Naruto asked softly. Yes, he's the only family I have left. He's my best friend, Mikasa said a little happily. You're both lucky to be friends, Naruto said sadly. Mikasa didn't know what had overtaken her, but she moved a little closer to Naruto and gently grabbed his hand. If you want us to be your friends? I understand if you don't want to. Mikasa said hesitantly, but she was cut off. Mikasa was shocked when Naruto wrapped her tightly in a bear hug. It seemed like he was thanking her over and over again. Naruto felt much happier. He had been with his family all his life. He met several other children of the clan, but most of them were only interested in politics and the influence that Naruto had due to being the son of Hokage. Thus, he never had any real friends, but in the last hour he spent with Mikasa, he felt happy. She had never been interested in his clan, but she talked to him like a normal person. She didn't care that he was the son of a Hokage, and she even slammed him against the wall when he mentioned that he wanted to take her friend into the black light. Her emotions were real. She looked stoic, but there was a person in her. Maybe that was what you felt when you made your first friend. Meanwhile, Mikasa was surprised. All the assumptions she made about Naruto were false. He was calm, understanding, and treated her with respect, even if she was just an orphan that no one knew about. It's a feeling of happiness. She hadn't experienced it since and after she met Armin. Will this friendship work? Will the Hokage or the villagers accept it? I would like to be your friend, Naruto said happily. Mikasa just put her hand on his back. She really didn't know what to do. She didn't want to be rude to him, but at the same time, she really wasn't happy with this sudden physical contact. Naruto felt her discomfort and immediately broke off the embrace, throwing her an apologetic look. Sorry, I got carried away. You're just the first friend I've found in my life, Naruto said honestly. Mikasa wanted to warn him, but for some reason she couldn't muster the courage to say it to his face. It's all right, but please don't do it again, Mikasa said seriously. Hi, Naruto said honestly. Build your shit, baka. Naruto thought confusedly. He really was a little ashamed of his sudden action, but it was good. Armin must be here somewhere, Mikasa said thoughtfully. Then both of them suddenly heard voices coming from the corner in the alley. The couple nodded and went to the source of the voice. Look what he's got, said the fat boy. An old hat, a crying baby, as if it shouldn't be, said another boy. Come on, be kind, give it to us, said another skinny boy. Naruto and Mikasa saw a brown-haired man surrounded by 3 other boys. He was holding a small hat in his hand, and it seemed that the others were mocking him. This belongs to my Gigi, I won't give it to you, the brown-haired man said furiously. Then take this, said the leader of the hooligans and hit the brown-haired woman hard. The blow hit the dark-haired boy's face and smashed him to the ground. Naruto's anger intensified after seeing this. He had to stop it. Hey you idiots! Naruto shouted angrily. Then he rushed towards the hooligans. His fists were clenched and he was ready to attack the hooligans, but before he could hit the hooligans, a spot flew in front of him. Naruto's eyes widened in shock when he saw that it was none other than Mikasa. The hooligans' eyes widened when they saw Mikasa approaching them. Naruto watched in amazement as Mikasa crushed the bullies. They were no match for her. She gracefully subdued them all. After they were defeated, she stood in front of them, and gave them a murderous look. If I ever find any of you near Armin, I will kill you, Mikasa said dangerously. Hi, Mikasa, the leader said. All the hooligans had bruises on their faces, their clothes were torn from different places. Remind me, never make her angry, Naruto thought with a chuckle. Then he remembered that they had come to look for Armin, and it seemed that the dark-haired boy was him. Are you all right? Naruto asked worriedly. Then he held out his hand to the boy. The dark-haired boy nodded gratefully and stood up with Naruto's support. Thank you, said the brown-haired man. The boy's eyes widened in shock when he realized who had helped him. Are you Naruto Namikaze? The boy with brown hair asked. Yes, you are by accident. Armin Arlert? Naruto asked timidly. I'm Armin, but what are you doing here? Asked Armin in shock. He came to give you a message directly from Hokage-sama, Mikasa said seriously. Armin and Naruto looked at her. All the hooligans had already fled, and now she was calmly resting, arms crossed, leaning on the wall. Naruto then took out the card and handed it to Armin, who eagerly accepted it. It seemed that Armin really had trouble controlling his nerves, as Naruto saw that Armin's hands were shaking when he started reading the note. Is it really true? Armin asked in shock. Yes, and we have to report our answer to the Hokage in 2 weeks, Mikasa said seriously. Armin looked at Naruto and looked at him with a calculating look. From the looks of it, if we are asked to join, then since you belong to 2 powerful clans, then you must also have some special abilities. You were asked to join, am I right? Asked Armin sharply. So he has brains, Naruto thought calculatingly. Yes, I have already agreed to this in order to protect this village, Naruto said firmly. I can't join, I'm sorry, Armin said sadly. Naruto was quite surprised by this answer, but somehow he knew that Armin would say it. Why? Are you afraid or don't you care what happens to this village or our country? Naruto asked bitterly. Don't tell me that. My parents, grandparents died in the line of duty. But what did they get in return? Asked Armin angrily. Which ones? Naruto asked in shock. He didn't know that Armin's family had died in battle. They died defending this village, and all they had were their names carved on a memorial stone. I grew up without love for my family, in a shelter. You don't know how it feels, how much it hurts. They were all stupid people, Armin said bitterly. He was quite surprised when Naruto roughly grabbed him by the collar of his shirt. Don't ever say that. I can't understand your pain, but I won't tolerate you insulting all the people who died for this village. It is thanks to your parents and grandparents that you and I can live peacefully. Calling them stupid offends their victim, and I won't let you do that. I'm sorry, your life was hard, but they gave their today so that you would have tomorrow, Naruto explained dangerously. But they left me alone, Armin said sadly. Tears had already appeared in his eyes. You are not alone, you have Mikasa, and now I am. I won't leave you, Naruto said honestly. Why? I'm just nobody, Armin asked curiously. You are Armin Arlert, and from now on you are my friend. You're not nobody anymore, Naruto said with a smile. Armin's eyes watered when he heard this. He felt really happy when he heard these words. Suddenly, all three of them heard a noise from the main street. The noise was getting louder by the second. We should check what's going on there, Mikasa quickly suggested. Hi, both boys said in unison. The trio arrived and ran to the main street for a few moments. When they reached it, they saw that there were a lot of people there. There were a lot of shinobi in uniform, and it looked like they were going somewhere. Some families were crying, and some children were clinging to their parents. What's going on? Mikasa asked respectfully. The old man looked at her and answered in a sad voice. The shinobi are moving to the front line. They are leaving today to fight in this war. Many of them won't come back, the old man said sadly. Very early. Armin said in shock. So it's already started, Naruto thought grimly. Please, father, don't go. I want to spend time with you, said a little girl with raven-colored hair. A middle-aged man bent down and warmly embraced the girl. There were tears in his eyes that rolled down his Hunin vest. It's all right, Nanao-chan, your father will be back soon. When I come back, I will bring you many gifts, Hunin said softly. Promise? Please don't leave like Ka-chan, a little girl named Nanao said sadly. I promise, Hunin said sadly. Naruto's fist clenched tightly, and he suddenly began to walk away from the crowd. Mikasa and Armin immediately followed him. Hey! Naruto, where are you going? Asked Armin quickly. It's all because of the enemy. If we destroy them, we can protect our people in our village, Naruto said angrily. Naruto then smashed his hands against the nearest wall, and Mikasa and Armin's eyes widened in shock when they saw the many cracks that appeared in the wall. So he has physical strength, Mikasa thought curiously. What are you planning to do? Armin asked softly. Armin, Mikasa. I'm walking in the dark. I will gain the strength to fight the enemy, and I will destroy every one of them, Naruto said murderously. Armin and Mikasa took a step back in fear when they felt Naruto's strength increase. It became harder for them to breathe. Naruto's strength was enormous, and the expression in his eyes showed that he was ready to kill. Before they could respond, Naruto quickly ran away without saying a word. Armin wanted to follow him, but Mikasa put her hand on his shoulder and looked at him resolutely. Both of them looked at each other and knew they had to make a decision, the one that will change their lives forever. Minato Namikaze was standing in front of the gate of his house. A lot was going through his head. His whole life had changed today, and he didn't know what it meant for him and his family, but one thing was for sure. He would always be Namikaze. His mother Toka Senju wished him a good life, and he fulfilled her wish. Also, his foster parents took good care of him, so he will always be Namikaze, no matter what. He didn't want to tell his family the truth yet, there were too many problems. He felt the presence of Mikoto in the house and his youngest son Itachi. I think she couldn't find Naruto, Minato thought wearily. Then he slowly opened the gate and entered his house. As soon as he entered the front door, he saw Mikoto sitting on the sofa and she was staring at him intently. Even her Sharingan was active and looked at him dangerously. We need to talk. Naruto quickly ran towards the east side of the village. There was only one place he wanted to go right now. After entering the gate of the Uchiha residence, he quickly headed towards Kageme's house. There was only one person besides his mother with whom he could share everything. He and his father were not very close, and this man supported him as a child. After a few moments of running, he reached for his grandfather's house. Opening the door of the house, he saw the person he wanted to meet. Shisui Uchiha sat in front of him with a calm expression on his face. Glad to see you, Naruto-kun, Shisui said with a kind smile. Aji-san, I need to talk to you, Naruto said slowly. Of course, have a seat. I'll get you some water, then you can tell me what's bothering you, okay? Shisui asked softly. Thank you, Naruto said gratefully. If there was anyone after his mother who understood him perfectly, it was his uncle. Shisui has always been kind and gentle to both him and Itachi. He acted like an older brother to both brothers, and Naruto knew that if he needed help, he could always count on Shisui, and right now his thoughts were contradictory. On the one hand, he knew that his mother and family did not want him to leave in the dark. On the other hand, he wanted to go and protect his country. He didn't want to break his mother's heart. She meant everything to him, but at the same time, he also didn't want to sit back and do nothing but watch. Shisui returned a few seconds later and offered Naruto a glass of water. Naruto nodded gratefully and drank. So, what's bothering you? Shisui asked calmly. You see, 30 minutes later, is that so, huh? Asked Shisui patiently. Hi, Naruto said slowly. Naruto, as you are now, you are not fit to be on the front line, let alone to be in the black light, Shisui said with honor. That's why I. Naruto protested, but he was interrupted. And despite that, do you still want to go to war? Shisui asked seriously. Yes, I do, Naruto said firmly. Shisui looked at his nephew seriously. The boy had great strength, and what he saw and heard during the council meeting was true. Then, maybe it was for the best. Then it's all right, Shisui said with a smile. Naruto said in shock. You still don't know anything about your strength, but you still have a way to fight, Shisui said patiently. But what about Ka-chan? Naruto asked curiously. Always remember this, Naruto, it doesn't matter who you should be, but what matters is who you want to be, Shisui said wisely. Aji-san. Naruto said with trepidation. His uncle really knew how to behave well. I haven't taught you anything in your life. If you want, I can teach you something, you know? This will help you fight and protect yourself and your comrades, Shisui said happily. Really? Naruto asked impatiently. Hi. Shisui said with a smile. Then what are we waiting for? Said Naruto happily. Shisui grinned when he heard Naruto's excited voice. It was time for him to teach his nephew and contribute to making him a real shinobi. Both uncle and nephew went to the training ground of their house. Shisui thought about everything he could teach Naruto and what might be best for him. Meanwhile, Naruto was very excited. His uncle was finally going to teach him. He knew that Shisui was known as the best teleporter in their village after his father. People even gave him the nickname Shunshin no Shisui. He also excelled in ninjutsu and shurikenjutsu, and his Sharingan was considered the strongest in the Uchiha clan. So what are you going to teach me? Naruto asked curiously. How much time is left before the shipment? Shisui asked seriously. 2 weeks, after that I need to leave. Naruto said sincerely. Did Enai-chan and Minato-sama teach you anything? Asked Shisui curiously. Yes, they have already taught me tree walking and chakra control exercises on water. I also know the whole theory about chakras. Naruto explained briefly. That's very good. it will be easier for me to teach you ninjutsu, Shisui said firmly. Then he took a small piece of paper out of his hand and handed it to Naruto. What is it, Aji-san? Naruto asked curiously. This is a paper for chakras. But before I tell you anything else, tell me what are the 5 main types of elements and their application in ninjutsu? Asked Shisui seriously. There are 5 main types into which the nature of the chakra can be transformed, which are called the transformation of the nature of the 5 elements, Godai Saishitsu Henka. These 5 types are also called elements and are not only the source of the names of the 5 great shinobi countries, but also the basis of all elemental ninjutsu. The 5 basic natures are connected to each other in a circle, each of which is weaker than one and stronger than the other. These are fire, water, wind, earth, and lightning. Naruto explained briefly, very precisely. Every person has a chakra that bears a resemblance to one of these types, a characteristic that seems to be genetic, since entire clans sometimes have the same affinity. Most of the Senju clan members, for example, were close to the nature of earth and water. They were among the most experienced manipulators of land and water in the world. The most skilled of them was Naidame Hokage, who was said to be the strongest water user of his time. He could transform moisture in the environment and create water. Shisui explained briefly. What do the Uchiha clan have in common? Naruto asked curiously. We excel in fire ninjutsu. We are the best masters of the fire style in the shinobi world, Shisui said proudly. So, since Ka-chan is an Uchiha, does this mean that I can also have the nature of a fire chakra? Naruto asked curiously. Maybe let's find out. Direct your chakra into this paper. If your proximity is fire, it will burn. If your proximity is water, it will get wet/wet. If your proximity is earth, it will crumble. If your proximity is wind, it will be sliced, and if your proximity is lightning fast, it will shrivel. Shisui explained briefly. Naruto nodded and directed his chakra into the paper. And what happened next shocked Shisui. All the paper became so wet that it crumbled into small wet pieces. Shisui activated his Sharingan and saw that there was so much water chakra in the paper that its entire molecular form was disrupted, but he also saw some pieces crumble into dust and some burn up. Impossible. Shisui thought in shock that he couldn't believe what he had just seen. No Konoha shinobi had such a high affinity for water after the Hokage Naidame. Moreover, Naruto really had an affinity for earth and fire, but water was his main passion, and its power was incredible. Aji-san, what does this mean? Naruto asked curiously. It took Shisui a few more seconds to overcome the shock, then he looked suspiciously at Naruto. There was only one clan in the whole world that inherited such a natural talent of the water style, and that was the Senju. Shisui thought that since Mikoto was Naruto's mother, he would have fire as the strongest chakra, but it was the opposite. He still had fire, but the water was stronger than his chakra, not to mention the earth. You have 3 affinities, the strongest of which is water, followed by earth and fire respectively, Shisui said patiently. It's amazing, isn't it? Naruto asked happily. Yes, it is, Shisui said with a slight smile, but something was wrong and he decided to find out about it later. So it would be better if I learned water-style ninjutsu? Naruto asked curiously. Yes, it is, but judging by your chakra level and stamina, you will only be able to learn small techniques at first, Shisui briefly explained. So, do you know any water ninjutsu? Naruto asked quickly. I don't have a penchant for water, but I know one water ninjutsu that you can learn now, Shisui said sharply. What is it? Naruto asked impatiently. It's called Mizu Bushin no Jutsu. It creates clones out of water that have 1/10 the strength of the original person. Like other solid cloning methods, clones can be used to perform tasks that the user cannot or does not want to do for himself. However, the clone's range is limited, as it cannot move very far from the original body without losing control. As with other cloning methods, if the aquatic clones are sufficiently injured, they will return back to normal water. Usually, this technique requires a water source, Shisui briefly explained. Then he took Naruto to the lake of his house and pointed Naruto to stand on the water. He was surprised to see Naruto effortlessly standing on the water. He carefully watched his Sharingan and saw that Naruto used a very small chakra to stand on the water. The boy's water talent was amazing. This is a C-rank ninjutsu, and it can be performed by a tiger seal. Look carefully, Shisui said seriously. Then he sealed the ram's hand, and two identical clones rose from the water and stood in front of Naruto. Now you're trying, but use only a limited amount of your chakra. Don't overdo it, Shisui warned. Naruto watched his uncle perform ninjutsu, and with his sensory skills, he gathered information about the right amount of chakra that needed to be formed. He made the seal of the tiger's hand and put the right amount of chakra. Shisui's eyes widened in shock when 20 water clones of Naruto rose from the lake and now stood in front of him with a smirk on their faces. Baka, I told you not to overdo it, Shisui said irritably. But I didn't use all my chakra, Naruto protested. What? Is that his strength? This is amazing, Shisui thought in shock. So did I do it right? Naruto asked again. Yes, it was easy for just, but it is very difficult to do it when there is no water source nearby. But over time, I think you will have the opportunity to perform this jutsu anywhere, Shisui explained. Aji-san, I want to learn the fireball jutsu that Ka-chan has done many times. She said that Uchiha is not finished before he learns this jutsu. Before I go to war, I want to become a real Uchiha, too, Naruto asked. Shisui was happy to hear this. He was glad that Naruto attached importance to the rituals of the Uchiha clan. Okay, now the jutsu you want to learn is called Katan, Gokaki no Jutsu, Fire Style, Fireball Jutsu. This is one of the most valuable jutsu of the Uchiha clan and an offensive C-rank ninjutsu in this technique. The chakra formed inside the body turns into fire and is expelled from the mouth either in the form of a huge fireball or in the form of a continuous flamethrower. The scale of the attack changes by controlling the volume of the collected chakra. The released flame will engulf its target and leave a crater on the surface of the earth. Shisui explained seriously, can you show me how it's done? Naruto asked. Shisui nodded and stood in front of the lake. Naruto and his water clones moved aside, but what he did next surprised Shisui. I want half of you to look at the hand seals, and the rest will try to figure out how much chakra needs to be formed to attack, Naruto firmly ordered. Hi, said the water clones, so he's using his clones to gather information. Water clones cannot transmit information after they disperse, so while they are active, he wants them to observe my jutsu and report it to him. Thus, he can observe and analyze the jutsu. With the help of 20 minds that will help him at least better understand the dynamics of jutsu. Brilliant, Shisui thought proudly. The real Naruto put his hand on the surface of the water and closed his eyes. Shisui saw that the water clones nodded, and gave the signal to perform the jutsu. He quickly completed a set of hand seals. Katan, Gokaki no Jutsu, Fire Style, Fireball Jutsu. Naruto's water clones watched as Shisui formed a perfect fireball that was the size of a huge stone and directed it over the lake. The water under the fireball evaporated due to the high temperature. So, this is the secret of this jutsu, Naruto thought with a grin. When he felt Shisui form a chakra in his lungs, Shisui stopped the jutsu and watched Naruto talking to his water clones, who told him about the hand seals, as well as what they had learned about the attack. Naruto then dispersed the clones. He felt a little tired as part of his chakra was being used, but he still had a lot of chakra left. Shisui watched carefully and was quite surprised how Naruto correctly performed all the manual seals. Even his speed was good for the first attempt. Naruto took a deep breath and formed the right amount of chakra, which, in his opinion, was necessary. He felt something burning in his chest and opened his mouth with great speed. Kato, Gokakyu no Jutsu, Fire Style, Fireball Jutsu, a fireball that was half the size of Sasuke's fireball was released from Naruto's mouth. The attack was small, but so powerful that even more vapors rose from the lake. Like a fireball, it burned the water. His attack is not perfect, but it is powerful. The fact that more water burns because of the fireball compared to my own shows that his chakra is more powerful than mine. He's a child prodigy, and if he keeps practicing, he can learn this jutsu in a few weeks, Sasuke thought with a smile. That's enough for today. You did a good job, Sasuke said happily. Naruto stopped his fireball, then he began to breathe heavily. There were also burn marks on his lips. Sasuke walked over and picked it up. I'm tired, Naruto said sleepily. Let's go home, Sasuke said softly. The next day, Naruto slowly opened his eyes. He looked at the ceiling and found that he was in his house. The training really took its toll on him. He couldn't master fire ninjutsu, but it was a good try. He felt that someone was sleeping next to him, turned around and found that it was none other than his father. He patted his father gently on the shoulder. Minato slowly opened his eyes and saw that his eldest son had woken up and was now looking at him curiously. Last night had been very hard. The biggest fight of his life had happened between him and Mikoto, but he didn't blame her. The fact that Naruto returned home unconscious and with several burn marks made her even more angry. Sasuke had to listen to her tirades for 30 minutes, and he was sent straight from the bedroom. Only God knew when she was going to calm down. Good morning, Naruto, Minato said with a smile. Let me guess, she's furious, Naruto said with a chuckle. Minato chuckled a little, and Naruto laughed too. However, both of their laughs died in their throats when they heard a new voice. It's me, Mikoto said angrily. Naruto looked at her. She was standing at the door of the room. The fact that she had an active Sharingan and her face was angry made him even more nervous. Kami-sama hates me, Naruto thought with a dry laugh. Mikoto stepped forward and lightly hit Naruto on the head. You idiot, what are you thinking about? Mikoto asked angrily. Kachan. I can explain, Naruto said slowly. How can you even think about getting into the black light? You're easy to kill, Mikoto said worriedly. Then she sat down in front of Naruto and looked him straight in the eye. Naruto saw anger, sadness, but most of all there were a lot of anxious feelings in them. I have to do it. Yesterday I saw Hunin hugging his daughter. Maybe he won't come back alive if we don't win this war. There will be many more crying children in this village. I can't let this happen, Naruto said passionately. He was quite shocked and Mikoto hit him hard. Even Minato was shocked. Mikoto has never hit any of her boys, but today she hit Naruto. Naruto was shocked when his mother hit him, but he looked up and saw tears falling freely from her eyes. Even her Sharingan disappeared. Don't you ever think about how I feel? Do I mean nothing to you? Mikoto asked sadly. Minato didn't say a word. She warned him that she didn't want to talk to him, and it would have been better if he didn't, because he had to save their relationship, and he wanted Naruto to make his own choice. That's not true. I love you more than anything in the world, Naruto said quickly. Then please don't leave, join some regular army. I can't watch one of my sons walk straight to the gates of hell. I can't live knowing that you will be on the most dangerous missions where your life will be at stake. You are my son, I brought you into this world, I raised you, took care of you and was by your side every day. I can't live if something happens to you, Mikoto said sadly. Naruto gently hugged her. He was in a strong emotional shock. What should he do? Always remember this, Naruto. It doesn't matter who you should be, but what matters is who you want to be. Naruto's eyes widened as he remembered what Sasuke had told him. He remembered the sad look in that little girl's eyes. He remembered that the enemy was stronger and they needed an advantage over them, and the black light was that edge. He looked at his father. The man looked at him calmly and said that whatever decision he made, he would receive his full support. He could still feel the tears falling from his mother's eyes and the sadness in her heart, but he knew what he had to do. I'm sorry, Ka-chan. But I made my choice, Naruto said sadly. Mikoto broke off the hug and looked at her son in shock. Did he really mean that? She meant nothing to him? I won't allow it, even if you're a shinobi now, you won't go, Mikoto said sternly. Ka-chan. Naruto said dangerously. Mikoto was shocked when Naruto spoke to her in such a high-pitched tone that he had never done anything like this before. That's who I am, shinobi. And I will follow only one code, live for nothing or die for something. I can't let my personal feelings get in the way when the existence of my country is at stake, Naruto said sharply. So you're leaving me? Mikoto asked coldly. No, I will never leave you, but at the same time I have to do what I think is right, Naruto said firmly. But you're going to die. Mikoto shouted angrily. So it will be, death is our profession, I can die even in regular troops, the future is not set in stone. But I will do my duty at any cost, Naruto said seriously. Mikoto sternly looked at her eldest son. So this is what he wanted, despite her feelings, despite the dangers? She couldn't understand him at all. Is this your final decision, Naruto Namikaze? Mikoto asked stoically. Hi, Naruto said sadly. Mikoto roughly got out of bed and headed for the door, but stopped at the exit. Then she looked sternly at the father and son. You're making the wrong choice, Naruto, because hell is waiting for you. Those were her last words before she abruptly slammed the door and left, leaving Naruto and Minato alone. 2 weeks later, it was midnight in Konoha, civilians were sleeping peacefully, and the remaining shinobi were guarding the village. Naruto slowly got up from the bed. It was time to leave. These last 2 weeks were the most difficult time in his life. His mother never spoke to him, and when Itachi found out about his decision, even he was against it. The only one standing next to him was his father. Both of them stayed in Naruto's room, as Mikoto was clearly boycotting Minato. She didn't even look at the two of them, as if they had never existed. The atmosphere in the house was very tense. Naruto trained with Shisui most of the time. He learned fireball jutsu and started training in shuriken jutsu. He was far from perfect, but he was proficient in shuriken jutsu. Shisui even explained the mechanics of Shunshin no Jutsu to him and once made him practice. He was still training and hadn't learned this jutsu yet. Naruto also met Mikasa and Armin several times. They became good friends, and it also helped ease Naruto's stress a little. They still hadn't informed him of their decision, but he hoped they would join him. He put on his black t-shirt with the Namikaze clan symbol on the back, then put on black trousers and sandals. That was it. He slowly left the room and walked towards the gate. He didn't want to bother his mother, so he left without telling her, as he didn't want to cause her much pain. Naruto was very surprised when he saw his younger brother Itachi sitting on the shore of the lake. What is he doing there at this time? Naruto thought curiously. Then he walked over to his brother and slowly sat down next to him. I'm sorry, Itachi said sadly. Naruto asked in surprise, why is Itachi apologizing? You need to go alone, and I can't go with you. Sorry, Ni-chan, Itachi said sadly. Naruto chuckled slightly when he heard this, and ruffled his younger brother's hair. He will miss him very much. Well, as long as you stay healthy and take care of Ka-chan. I can continue, Naruto said softly. How can you smile? Itachi asked irritably. What do you mean? Naruto asked curiously. Why don't you blame me for leaving you alone in this war? It's too complicated, if you can just blame me. Itachi said angrily, but he was cut off. Why should I blame you? Naruto asked sharply. Ni-chan, if I blamed you, then I wouldn't be a good big brother. It's not your fault that I'm being sent to war. I just don't mind fighting and dying for my family and my precious brother. Naruto said with a smile. Itachi's eyes widened when he heard this, tears welled up in his eyes. And don't forget that you are the future of this village, and the son of the 4th Hokage. I leave Ka-chan and this village to you, Naruto said seriously. Ni-chan. Itachi said in shock. Naruto lightly slapped Itachi on the head and stood up. Oh. It hurts. Itachi said in embarrassment. Live life to the fullest, Itachi, live life to the fullest. Become full, become completely bald, and die much later than me, Naruto said softly. Then he turned and took one last look at his younger brother. He didn't know if he would ever see him again. Their eyes met, and Naruto smiled at Itachi for the last time. And if possible, die with a smile on your face, otherwise I would never have been able to forgive myself, and, no matter what happens, I will always love you, Naruto said sadly. I love you too, Nichan, Itachi shouted with tears in his eyes. Naruto left, leaving his brother. His path was difficult, and he only hoped to see his brother again one day, but one thing he didn't notice was that Itachi's eyes were now red, and there was one black tomo in them. That he went to the gate and was about to leave it, but a voice stopped him. So you're leaving, said a sad voice. Naruto looked back and saw his mother standing behind him. However, she turned her back on him, as if she couldn't face him. Hi, Naruto said sadly. Naruto, if you walk out of this gate, then you will never come back, Mikoto said in a strangled voice. She could hardly hold back the tears that appeared in her eyes. Naruto looked sadly at his mother. He knew he was breaking her heart, but he wanted to look at her face one last time. He wanted to see her smile, but it would never happen. Maybe it was his punishment for breaking her heart. I'm sorry, Naruto said sadly. Then he slowly walked out of the gate, leaving a tearful Mikoto. Village gate. Naruto reached the edge of the northern gate. His escort was going to meet him 2 kilometers from the village. From there, he was going to be escorted to an unknown place, which was supposed to be the base of Blacklight. That he was quite surprised when he saw that his father, Kagami, and Shisui were waiting for him. That he approached the men and bowed to them one last time. Shisui came forward and gave Naruto a mask with a black face, which surprised Naruto. I know you like it. This is a gift from me and Kakashi. He wanted to come, but he was sent to the front. Watch each other's backs and you'll come back alive, Shisui said warmly. Naruto hugged his uncle. Thank you, Naruto said gratefully. Kagami then stepped forward and took something out of the bag. It was a metal forehead protector, the same as that of Nidame Hokage, and passed it to Naruto. Fight bravely and with honor and glorify this defender on your forehead and your country, Kagami said firmly and patted Naruto on the shoulder. I promise, Naruto said honestly. Then Naruto approached his father, who first of all hugged him tightly. No father could have dreamed of a better son, Minato said proudly. Please take care of Kachan and Itachi, Naruto said sadly. Then Minato took out a 3-pronged kunai from his bag and gave it to Naruto. Two-chan. This? Naruto asked in shock. He knew what kind of kunai it was. Hi, this is my Hiroshin kunai. If you are in danger, just drop it nearby, and I will come to help you as soon as possible, Minato said seriously. Thank you, said Naruto and took one last look at his father. The men looked at each other and understood each other's message. I love you. Well, that's goodbye, Naruto said softly. Someone is waiting for you, Minato said with a smile. Naruto looked around and saw that it was none other than Mikasa and Armin. Mikasa was wearing black trousers and a gray t-shirt. Her hair was pulled into a short ponytail. She looked very beautiful. Armin was wearing a white t-shirt and dark green trousers, his brown hair fluttering freely in the air. I'm coming with you. Now it's my turn to protect this village, as well as my parents, grandparents, Armin said with a smile. I'll go too, Mikasa said calmly. Mikasa, you don't have to. Didn't you say that survival was important? Naruto asked in surprise. He had a feeling that Armin would come, but he never thought that Mikasa would join too. That's right. That's why I'm going to stop both of you from dying, Mikasa said seriously. A wide smile appeared on Naruto's face. All 3 children looked at each other and took one last look at the village. Good. The 3 of us. Naruto said firmly. The trio then ran out of the gate to begin their journey, but they didn't know that hell was waiting for them. Chapter 13 Boot Camp. New faces. On a small field in the forest there were 300 people in different rows. Now all these people had one thing in common. They were all children and wore the same uniform on their bodies. They were none other than Konoha's 8th Blacklight Force Trainee Corps. It was the most dangerous umbu force in the world. The cadets wore black trousers on their feet and army boots on their feet. They had a dark brown jacket on their chest and a small dark blue shirt underneath. All these cadets had Konoha bandages on their foreheads. There was complete silence, as not a single cadet spoke or stood at attention. All these boys and girls were young, and today their lives will change forever. The solid sound of footsteps could be clearly heard in the field as a man walked slowly between the cadets, and his dark black eyes watched each of them with a critical look. They are too young. The man thought calculatingly. Han, also known as Commander Fox, participated in 2 great ninja wars and was one of the most decorative shinobi in the history of Konoha. He knew how bloody the war was, how many people suffered in the war, and right now, looking at the young faces of these children, he hated the war more and more. These young children were the best soldiers of their country, and they threw them right into the World War, where most of them would be killed, but it had to be done. They were shinobi, and this was the reality of their world. His eyes noticed the chestnut boy and he found his target when he saw that the boy had a very nervous expression on his face. Even if the boy tried to hide it, veteran Khan's eyes could see right through the boy's heart. Khan stood in front of the boy, and the young cadet immediately saluted the officer. "Who are you?" Khan asked stoically. He had to start the process, which was followed in the black light from the very beginning. "Armin Arlert, from Konoha, sir," Armin said loyally, but still he was very nervous, and the huge sword strapped to the Khan's back, combined with the dark fox mask on his face, was enough to scare any 8-year-old boy. "Why are you here?" Khan asked sternly, and there was a firm authoritative tone in his voice. "To fight for Konoha and kill all the enemies," Armin said quickly. He really cursed his luck when he heard Han snort in frustration before grabbing Armin by the collar and lifting him off the ground so he could look the boy straight in the eyes. "The only one who will die is you, Arlert," Khan said with disgust and threw Armin straight to the ground. Han's sharp ears caught the sound of clenching fists, and a small smirk appeared on his face when he noticed 2 people who glowered at him for a moment. "So they are your friends?" thought the amused Khan. Khan saw that the cadets were a little afraid of him, and that was exactly what he wanted from them. This introduction process was mandatory for every Black Light cadet. Here, the determination of young soldiers will be tested, their beliefs and ideals will be destroyed by the end of training, provided that they survive, and more than 100 of them will not. That sly son of a bitch, Minato. He lied to the council. If they saw what these children went through, they would have his head, Khan thought firmly. He fully supported Minato. It was a world in which the strong survived and the weak died. It was a law of nature. He stood in front of a young girl. She had dark black hair with light shades of blue at the ends. She had a mischievous expression on her face, and Han knew that she was one of those who was dangerous. "Who are you?" Han asked loudly, and his loud voice made some of the other girls flinch. He was sure it was scary. "Hey, old man. I'm Anko Mitarashi, here to kick ass." The girl named Anko said cheerfully, but soon she had to dodge when Han tried to hit her right in the face. Good reflexes, thought the impressed Khan, confident that he was just joking, but the girl was still fast. Before Anko could blink, Han disappeared in front of her, and she felt the cold metal go to her neck, making her shiver down her back. "Call me old, and I'll kill you," Han said murderously. He leaked a small ki to prove his point, and all of Anko's cheerfulness disappeared. "Yes, sir," Anko replied instantly. Creepy was the only word Anko associated her instructor with. Before the shock of what had happened to Anko could disappear, a loud yawn rang out in the clearing. which even greatly surprised Khan. His eyes followed the sound, and he quickly found the culprit. He quickly approached his goal, leaving behind a relieved Anko. Now he was standing in front of a young blonde. Khan had to admit that she was very beautiful among her entire party and could make an excellent spy working behind enemy lines. "Oh, the theme, what was that?" Khan asked angrily and hit the girl on the head a little sharply. The blonde slowly rubbed her head, but instead of being afraid of him, she had a lazy expression on her face. "Let's go. It's still 3 a.m., sir. I feel sleepy," the girl said honestly and yawned right in front of Khan's face. Khan had never seen such children in his entire career. One was a nervous highwayman, the other was an idiot, and now he's a lazy ass. What a crime he committed that he had to train such idiots to be soldiers of the black light that he decided to check out this girl right now. "Who are you, Gaki?" Khan asked sternly, and all the lazy attitude disappeared from the girl's face. "Ranjaku Matsumoto from Tenshin Village, here to save my country, Commander," Ranki said sincerely, and Han was satisfied that the girl at least had the determination. "You wouldn't be able to save shit." The Khan snorted and roughly ruffled the girl's silky blonde hair. "You have no right to say that," said an angry voice. Han looked back and saw a boy with silky blonde hair. He was wearing a mask, but with cold black eyes. He could recognize those eyes anywhere. Khan stood in front of the boy and looked at him murderously. Such children were killed first. "Maybe Uchiha?" Khan asked mockingly and poked the boy with his forehead. "Now that the war has started, names don't matter, Commander," the boy said coldly, and Khan was quite surprised by the boy's blank stare. "Who are you, boy?" Khan asked curiously. Something bad must have happened to this child, such coldness at such a young age. "I'm nobody. The only thing I want is to protect my brother, and I will kill anyone who tries to harm him," the boy said murderously, and this time Khan got a satisfied smile under the mask. "I see, but what's your name?" "This is an order," Khan said sternly. "Naruto Namikaze." All eyes widened upon hearing this name. They could not believe that the eldest son of Hokage and heir of the Namikaze clan was here. Even Khan was surprised by the boy's determination. He received a report about how Naruto was attached to Itachi, and his reason to fight. Han heard some muttering and immediately raised his ki, so everyone just shut their mouths. As he said, "Names don't matter. I asked some of you, why are you here?" And only his answer was a little satisfactory. "Trash like you," Han said in disappointment, and there were angry looks on the faces of many cadets. "As I thought, they are very raw, they must pass the test," Han thought firmly. "Do you think you're a black light? You're nothing but shit, nothing but cattle. We don't need pussies, we need soldiers. From today on, you nobody, you don't want to be nobody. Whoever you were. In the past, rich, poor, clan heirs or any other shit, it doesn't matter. From now on, you are expendable soldiers, ready to sacrifice yourself at any time for the sake of our nation," Khan said sharply, and many of the children were a little scared when they heard this. "But we thought we were in the dark now," a young girl with purple hair asked. "Gaki, the day you kill all the emotions in your heart, then you will become a black light. When you are ready to kill your friends, your family, your love and yourself, then you will become a black light. The day you destroy your existence, then you will become a black light. Can you do it?" Khan asked sharply, and the girl took a step back in fear. No one answered. Could they have done this? Talking about dying for your country was one thing, but to do it without hesitation required a determination that these cadets didn't have right now. "You're right, Commander. We are useless pieces of trash. I broke the heart of the person I loved the most. I'm sure many of us did the same to get here, so throw any obstacle you want. We will become a black light, and nothing can stop us," Naruto said furiously, and Han noticed how confidence was returning to many cadets. Always loud, but still. Mikasa thought warmly, and a slight smile appeared on her face. The same smile was reflected by a certain blonde who was staring intently at Naruto. Damn that mask, did she want to see what he looked like? Ranjaku was always curious, and this boy supported her maybe indirectly, but he stood up for her. Namikaze Naruto. You look very interesting, Ranjaku thought with a mischievous smile on her face. Show yourself, I'll show him whose boss is here, Genma thought furiously. He really wanted to show how special he was, and he wasn't going to let Naruto get in his way. Namikaze, I bet you won't have the same confidence by tomorrow, Han said confidently and now stood in the center of the crowd. Stop talking, since you're all such cheeky little jerks, I have a reward for you. Give me 2 miles of running right now. Fatigue is an appropriate word that could describe the current state of the Blacklight cadets. Never in their entire lives have they faced such a terrible day. Khan tore them all apart, first running, then exercising, then running again, forced them to work all day without food and water. Many of them have already lost consciousness due to fatigue and dehydration. As expected, Khan told them that it was just a warm-up for the impending hell. Although none of them knew what that meant, Mikasa was treating wounds on Armin's right leg. He tripped over a rock and dislocated his leg. He was not given any medicine. Instead, he was ordered to continue running. How is the wound now? Does it hurt? Mikasa asked anxiously, and she felt some relief when she saw Armin smile at her slightly. It's better than before, thank you. Don't worry, I'll be fine by tomorrow, Armin promised lightly, and Mikasa nodded hesitantly. There was silence as none of them said a word. Instead they were busy watching the other cadets talk or trying to eat some food they were given. Many of them slept on their tables, and some ate as if they had been starving for several days. Mikasa couldn't understand why they were given such a delicious dinner. Everyone was happy and ate as much as they liked, but she had a very bad feeling about all this. Judging from what she had seen so far, there was not a single slender soldier at the base, with the exception of Khan and his few subordinates. Even the base was very small for training 300 cadets. Armin told her that he also hadn't seen any training equipment at the base, and that made her a little nervous, but right now, her eyes were intently watching Naruto, or rather, the person he was talking to. Armin noticed where Mikasa was looking, and a slight smirk appeared on his face when he noticed a little anger and jealousy in her eyes. Oh, my God, I never knew that you could impress even people like her, Naruto, thought Armin, surprised. Meanwhile, Naruto was busy talking to Ranjaku, who had just pulled him away from the others as she wanted to talk to him. He saw many boys looking at him jealously, while the girls looked at Ranjika the same way. He was quite surprised when she just kissed him on the cheek. He had never expected this in his whole life, and this time he was grateful that he was wearing a mask, otherwise everyone would have seen him how embarrassed he was. I shouldn't have done that, Naruto said nervously. He had to admit that Ranjaku looked good, but his thoughts were always focused on some raven-haired beauty who was looking at both of them right now. Are they a bit murderous? Ranjaku put her arms around his neck and laughed out loud. You stood up for me against the commander, and I am grateful to you for that. Ranjaku said happily, it wasn't just for you. He also beat up Armin and insulted all of us. So I couldn't contain my anger, Naruto said honestly, and he got a slight smile from the blonde beauty next to him. That's what I like about you, Ranjaku said cryptically, and Naruto's eyes widened when he heard that. Which ones? Asked the confused Naruto, and Ranjaku only ruffled his silky hair after hearing this. You're just like me, you say what's in your heart, and I like your honesty, Ranjaku explained cheerfully, and the relieved sigh that escaped Naruto's lips made her giggle a little. They were both interrupted by a conversation when several other cadets joined them, and Naruto immediately recognized 2 of them. One of them was the girl Anko, who was scolded by the instructor, and the other was a girl with purple hair who asked one question. Another couple of boys were standing next to the girls. One of them had spiky black hair and a bandage on his nose, and the boy standing next to him had light brown hair covered with a light scarf on his head. There was another boy who was chewing senbon in his mouth, and there was a headscarf on his head. Good speech, smart ass. The senbon boy said mockingly. Well, I said what's on my mind, nothing else, Naruto said carefully. Somehow he knew that the boy wasn't here to be his friend. Yes, thanks to your loud mouth, we had to do exercises for an extra hour. How can you justify that? The boy asked a little angrily. What's your name? Naruto asked sharply, and the others noticed that the situation was heating up. Genma Shiranui, as I said, Genma, I'm here to protect my brother, and if the instructor punishes the whole group, then that's his problem, not mine. You're in the Umbu squad, there's no room for complaints here, Naruto said sharply. And Genma grabbed him by the collar. Listen to me clearly, Namikaze, this is not your home, and you are not a Hokage child here, so shut your loud mouth, otherwise. Genma said threateningly and, to clarify his point of view, tightened his grip on Naruto's collar. Guys, calm down, there's no need to fight, Anko said sternly, and a purple-haired girl supported her. Oh, Genma, there's no need for such a fight, it was the commander's decision to punish us, it's not his damn fault, said the prickly boy, who had a bandage on his nose. Shut up, Kotetsu. Genma said sharply, and another boy named Izumo was just about to stop both of them when another man came in. Before any further fight could escalate, Naruto and Genma were grabbed by the collars and thrown straight to the floor. Someone was sitting on top of Naruto, and Genma put a firm foot on his chest. Naruto looked up and saw that it was none other than Mikasa. Mikasa, said Naruto, shocked, but she looked at him rather sternly. You shouldn't get into useless fights, Mikasa said flatly, and that seemed to increase Naruto's anger. You have no right to tell me this, Naruto said furiously, and for a moment he noticed the shock in her blue eyes. Fine, Mikasa said shortly, got up from her chest and walked straight to the door, while everyone else was stunned to see how the girl killed two boys so easily. So fast. Damn, she's impressive, Genma thought happily. He had to admit that the girl was also beautiful. Maybe he could get her away from Namikaze. Armin held out his hand to Naruto and forced him to stand up, then he calmly looked at the other cadets. We are all comrades here, if we offended someone, I apologize on behalf of Naruto and Mikasa, Armin said calmly, and Genma looked away, as everyone was now looking at him with disappointment for starting a fight. It's all right, no harm, I'm Kotetsu, and this is my friend Izumo, Kotetsu said and held out his hand, which Naruto and Armin sincerely shook. Nice to meet you, I'm Yugao Yuzuki, Genma Shiranui, Aoba Yamashiro, Shizun Kato, Yamato Noera, Hana Inuzuka, Anko Mitarashi. Naruto and Armin happily greeted each of the cadets. More and more cadets came forward, and after a few minutes everyone introduced themselves. Even if their start was hard, they all knew that they would fight side by side with each other, and it was best if they were on the best of terms. Almost all of them had received basic shinobi training and had some special skills, as a result of which they were chosen, but if they could not understand each other, how could they defeat the enemy? 30 minutes later, Naruto, Armin and Ranjaku were sitting in a small corner. The rest of the conversation was very friendly, and even Genma and Naruto stopped their quarrels, but they were a little wary of each other. Ranjaku seemed to be joking with Armin until they both noticed Naruto sitting silently. Mikasa, Armin said knowledgeably, and Naruto seemed quite surprised to see that his friend easily read his thoughts. I was rude to her. I shouldn't have said such things to her, I was so angry, Naruto said in disappointment. Naruto, you need to understand. Mikasa may seem a little cold, but she cares deeply about you. If you and Genma had quarreled, then you both would have ended up in prison, and she didn't want that, Armin explained briefly. Is she a good friend of yours? Ranjaku asked curiously. She guessed from their chats that these three were close to each other. She's my first friend, but sometimes I can't understand her, Naruto said sadly. A small part of his heart was still broken. Even after so many days, he still couldn't forgive himself for breaking his mother's heart. These tears, he could never forget them, and he could not forget that he was the source of these tears. His mother had loved him all his life, and even if what he was doing was right, he still blamed himself for breaking her heart. The only thing holding him back was the desire to protect Itachi and the village. He made friends with Mikasa and Armin. They were both so good with him, expecting nothing in return, and he screwed up again. You don't know about her past, but I am sure that one day you will be able to understand her, Armin said mysteriously. What do you mean? The curious Ranjaku asked. This is something you should ask Mikasa herself, or rather, she will tell you herself, Armin said calmly. Can I become one of your friends? You two are good people, and Mikasa is also a decent girl, Ranjaku said hurriedly, but was cut off when Naruto put his hand on her shoulder. You are more than welcome in our group, just no kissing in public, Naruto jokingly said. Armin grinned when he saw Ranjaku hugging Naruto tightly, and the confused look in his friend's eyes made him laugh more and more. No promises, Ranjaku said mischievously. All three friends laughed when they learned that maybe they could all help each other in this war. Mikasa was sitting quietly in a corner of the base. It was already night, and most of the cadets had gone to their barracks. There were only a few minutes left before curfew, and no one was allowed to leave their rooms after that. Her mind was constantly thinking about the incident that happened during dinner. Did she do the right thing? She didn't lie when she saw Naruto with Ranjaku. She got a little angry. She just didn't know why. She knew they were just friends, but he should have spent more time with her and Armin. Hell, they didn't even know Ranjaku until today, and he was so rude to her when she stopped him from fighting Genma. Mikasa didn't know what was going on with Naruto. Before they left Konoha, he was so friendly, kind and gentle, but now, he was just a shell of who he used to be. As if something had changed him a lot, he was still a good person, but he was a little distant and a little cold than before. She was interrupted from her thoughts when someone sat down next to her. She was surprised that someone could notice her in such darkness. It was none other than Naruto himself. How did you find me? Mikasa asked curiously, but she was very surprised when Naruto came up and wiped the tears from her cheeks. Until now she didn't even know she was crying. I'm a censor. I can find you wherever you are, Naruto said slowly, and Mikasa turned away from him. Is that good or bad? Mikasa asked coldly, and she heard Naruto sigh wearily. I'm sorry for what happened there. Naruto said sincerely. He really didn't want to hurt her, but the fact was that he made her cry. You don't need to. Besides, who am I for you to say something to you, Mikasa said casually, but was very surprised when Naruto gently grabbed her hand. You're my friend, and it was my fault. I was angry at Genma, and if you hadn't intervened, would have fought him, which probably would have led to detention. I just couldn't control my tongue. Naruto said honestly, and Mikasa looked at him seriously, and his eyes showed her that he meant what he said. I see, then it's all right, Mikasa said with a slight smile on her face. They both sat and silently watched the moon in the sky. They did not know what fate had in store for them, but they were determined to meet it together. You mean a lot to me, and you are as dear to me as my family, Naruto said warmly, and Mikasa's eyes widened upon hearing this. Did he really mean that? Naruto, I know I'm an idiot, and sometimes I speak sooner than I think. It's just. Naruto said sadly, but was stopped when Mikasa gently squeezed his hand. It's okay, you don't need to explain everything to me. You are my friend and I will always be by your side, Mikasa said firmly, and she wasn't sure, but she felt his smile under her mask. Besides, you're an idiot, and you would have screwed up without me, Mikasa jokingly said, and Naruto challenged in his eyes. And you'd be alone without me. Naruto said teasingly, and he saw that Mikasa's face had turned a little red. Asshole. Jerk. Both children laughed loudly. They knew that both needed each other. For Naruto, Mikasa was a friend, a guide, and a person who kept him in check when he did something stupid. Armin was usually very supportive of every decision he made, and they needed a balanced person like Mikasa. For Mikasa, Naruto was a close friend. She wouldn't admit it to him, but for her he was just as important as Armin. She knew she wasn't perfect and might have been a little harsh, but she just wanted to protect her two friends. No matter what happens, I won't let anything happen to you. Chapter 14. The Valley of Hell. The wild noise of the wind was blowing right into his ears. The atmosphere was so cool that it was almost frightening. He could vaguely see birds flying in the air. What kind of dream? Naruto. A loud shout from someone immediately opened his eyes, and he frantically looked around to find the source of this voice. Naruto. The first thing he saw was that he was in the air and falling down, and to his great horror, he's really falling from the sky. He looked down and saw Armin a few feet below him. There were clouds all around, and his heartbeat had increased to a dangerous level. Where the hell are they? What the fuck is this? Naruto screamed in fright. He had never been so scared in his entire life. I don't know, we are falling from the sky. Armin shouted nervously, and this time Naruto really realized that this was not a dream. They were really falling from the sky, and his dark eyes could see the ground several thousand feet below them. What was going on? Only God knew how scared he was right now, and the tears coming from Armin's eyes made him even more nervous. We're going to die. Naruto. We are dying, said a tearful Armin, as he was sure that their death was now imminent. Even if they were shinobi, they would fall from about a few thousand feet, which meant death for everyone, and they were just kids. What the hell chance did they have of surviving? Armin's vision began to darken, and he slowly felt the approach of unconsciousness. Am I going to die like this? Armin thought sadly. How was he supposed to face his parents in the afterlife? However, he was shaking violently. He opened his eyes uncertainly and saw that Naruto was holding him tightly and shouting at him. Calm down. I'll get us out of this shit alive, Naruto quickly promised, and Armin saw that his friend was also scared, but he trusted Naruto. Both of them saw the approaching ground, and they probably had 40 seconds before they were crushed to death, and Armin heard Naruto take a deep breath. Armin. I'm going to do something crazy, Naruto said nervously, and Armin didn't know why a light laugh escaped his lips. Aren't we all crazy bastards? Armin jokingly said. If they were going to die, at least his friend was with him. I don't know if it will work, but I feel a lot of water in the air. If I can just transform a lot of water, then maybe we won't die from this crash, tactically thought Naruto. Naruto pushed off from Armin and was now falling in front of him. He ignored Armin's screams and tried to make his plan work. He had only one chance: either he will live or he will die. He didn't care about his fate, but he promised that he wouldn't let his friend die, and he would make sure that nothing happened to Armin. Armin was quite shocked when he felt a huge explosion of chakra, and when he looked down, he was shocked to see Naruto's entire body enveloped in blue flames. What is it? Armin thought in shock. Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu, water cloning technique. Armin had never seen anything like this before. Hundreds of Naruto clones now surrounded him and Naruto and formed a huge protective barrier around both of them, but to his horror, he saw that Naruto was falling faster than before, and his eyes widened in shock when he saw that Naruto was bleeding from his nose, and his eyes were probably closed. Damn, did he use all his chakra? Armin thought with fear. Moreover, he saw that the clones were also in a panic, because they did not know where they were, and chaos reigned everywhere. Clone Army, prepare for an emergency landing. Surround yourself with me and Armin right now, shouted Naruto loudly. Armin was even more surprised when all the clones nodded, and almost 100 clones surrounded him from all sides. He also saw a lot of clones surrounding Naruto's body. The ground was approaching and he closed his eyes in the hope of surviving, his heart beating faster than ever. He was sweating profusely. Were they really dropped from the sky? Where were Mikasa and Ranjaku? It was driving him crazy, and he just couldn't take it anymore. He just closed his eyes in the hope that everything would be over soon. He slowly opened his eyes. His clothes were all wet, and his body was in extreme pain. Armin rubbed his eyes to see clearly where he was. The last thing he remembered was falling from the sky with Naruto. He suddenly jerked up, but fell flat on the ground as his legs could not support his weight. There was only one thing going on in his head: if he was alive, then where was his friend? Fear, anxiety, nervousness, he felt all these emotions at the same time. He must find Naruto, no matter what happens. He was swimming through a small puddle of water and realized that the clones must have been destroyed on impact, but, looking back, I noticed that I had fallen in a small field, and there were many tall trees growing nearby. If Naruto fell right into these trees, then his chance of survival was, I can think like that. Nothing will happen to him. Armin thought furiously and slowly tried to get up. Suddenly, something fell out of his bag, and when he looked down, it turned out to be a small scroll. What was the scroll in his pocket doing now? He took the scroll and examined it carefully. Nothing unusual. It was a simple scroll. What was he supposed to do with it? Don't act hastily. This world is full of lies. Armin remembered these words. Mikasa always told him to be careful, and now he did not think that it was necessary to open this scroll. What if this is a trap for Bobby? I can't take that risk right now. I need to find Naruto first and get him to a safe place. Armin thought firmly and put the scroll back into his bag. With these thoughts, Armin got to his feet. He wasn't in the best shape, but he was just glad that he was alive instead of being crushed to death. There is no one around. Besides, I can't stay outdoors for long. I'll have to go to the forest and look for Naruto, Armin told himself seriously. He walked slowly towards the forest. His legs hurt, but at least they weren't broken. There were so many questions in his head. First of all, who dropped them from the sky? That thought alone sent a shiver down his spine as he recalled that memory. If it wasn't for Naruto, he would have been dead by now. But the way Naruto saved him caused him more questions. Yesterday they passed the dating ceremony, and everything was fine. They even slept peacefully in their barracks until this morning he woke up and found himself falling from the sky. Were they thrown purposefully or not? Yeah. I'll go crazy if I keep thinking like this, Armin thought disappointedly. This was his problem. He always had a habit of thinking too much about things, and it upset him more than other people. A loud scream echoed throughout the square, and Armin instantly lost consciousness. He clenched his fists and was ready to fight. He knew that during these few weeks they had undergone basic shinobi training in the black light, but he was able to defend himself. At least, that's what he thought. He could hear hissing sounds all around him, and when he looked back, he was shocked to see a giant snake coming out of the ground. And he looked at Armin as if he was his prey. Motherfucker! Armin's scream echoed throughout the area, and he ran like hell. He didn't look back, he just ran and ran as fast as his legs could. He was afraid of snakes, and the sight of a giant snake behind his back made him more nervous than ever. He wondered if he could climb trees, but it would take time, and the snake was right on his back. Suddenly, he lost his balance and fell to the ground, sending jolts of pain all over his body, and when he looked back, he was terrified. The snake was standing over him. He was looking at him murderously, and Armin tried to get up, but failed because he realized that his leg was dislocated. Damn it! I won't let you eat me! Armin shouted angrily and threw several stones at the snake, but the snake took the blows with its head, and Armin was now really scared when the snake opened its mouth, and he knew that now it was for him. Sorry, Mikasa, Naruto. He was waiting for the snake to eat him, but was quite surprised when a bright arrow pierced the snake's face and landed right between his legs. The creature's eyes widened for a moment, and then his entire body collapsed to the right. Fast movement. Yo! Said a new mysterious voice. Armin looked up and was very surprised and also delighted to see his savior. He was in pain, awful. Naruto slowly opened his eyes. The last thing he remembered was being surrounded by his clones, and then everything went dark. He was quite surprised when he saw himself lying upside down on a branch of a tall tree. Where am I? Naruto thought sleepily. His vision was still blurry and his whole body was hurting. Suddenly, he realized that blood was dripping onto the ground, and that blood was flowing right out of him. He slowly raised his hand and touched his face, and to his shock, the blood was his own. He felt an unbearable pain in his left arm and struggled to suppress the scream in his throat. It looks like his landing was unsuccessful, and he suffered serious damage. His eyes scanned the area, and he saw that there were many trees everywhere. It seemed like he was in some kind of forest. There didn't seem to be anyone nearby, which made him a little nervous. I need to find Armin quickly. I can't leave him alone in such a place. Naruto thought firmly and tried to move from his place, the wrong move, as he suddenly lost his balance and fell to the ground with a sickening thud, and this time he screamed at the top of his lungs when he felt some of his bones break. Armin sat silently in a small cave. He still couldn't believe what had happened today. First they fell from the sky like angels, then he realized that his friend was nowhere to be found, then a giant snake almost killed him. If it wasn't for her, he would be dead, and he hated it. Ranjaku, why did you save me? Armin asked irritably. The blonde sighed wearily and now sat down next to Armin, putting her hand on his shoulders. Do I need a reason? Ranjaku asked resolutely, and Armin looked away from her. He just couldn't bear the shame. You should have left me to die. Armin said seriously, and this time Ranjaku grabbed him tightly and looked him straight in the eyes. Why would I leave a friend to die? I don't understand. Ranjaku said in disappointment. The sad look she saw in her friend's eyes made her realize that maybe Armin was something more than she knew. She didn't know anything about his past, so it would be useless to make assumptions. This is hell, this world is hell, said the frightened Armin, and his body began to shake violently. Ranjaku hugged Armin tightly. She didn't know what happened to Armin, but he may have had a very bad day. Everything will be fine. Ranjaku said soothingly and wiped the tears that flowed from Armin's eyes. In our world, only the strong survive. There is no place for the weak. Besides, my friends tried to be strong for me. They protected me even though I'm a weakling. Every time they both saved me, and even now you had to save your life. I can't stand it. Armin said sadly, and this time Ranjaku understood what the problem was. Armin had serious problems with self-esteem, the roots of which went deep into his past. He always relied on others, and it hurt his pride. It's not bad if your friend helps you. Ranjaku said patiently, no, I want to fight with everyone. I want to protect them too, not just be a weakling. That's all. Today I almost twice came to death, Armin said seriously. What happened to you? Ranjaku asked curiously, and what she heard next shocked her to the core. Both Naruto and I were thrown from the sky. Armin said sharply, and Ranjaku's eyes widened when he heard this. Impossible. Ranjaku said in horror, it's true. If it wasn't for Naruto, I'd be dead. He created so many aquatic clones out of thin air. It was just amazing, and now he's out there in the woods, all alone, and I can't do the damn thing. Armin shouted angrily, and Ranjaku immediately put his hand over his mouth. Shut up, do you want us to be killed? This forest is damn dangerous. I woke up today and found myself hanging from a cliff, Ranjaku said seriously, and now it was Armin's turn to be shocked. What did you say? Armin asked in a frightened voice. This happens to all cadets. Armin, we need to stay here, there are very dangerous creatures in this forest. On the way here, I noticed the bodies of several cadets, Ranjaku said grimly. This time Armin was horrified to hear this. Now he was really worried about his friends, he just wanted them to be safe. Ranjaku realized what Armin must be thinking and decided to tell the truth. I didn't find the bodies of Naruto or Mikasa, they are alive, Ranjaku said soothingly. It's a relief. Armin said with relief, but he still had to find them, no matter what happened. Armin. Can I ask you something? It's about Naruto's power. I know that he belongs to two powerful clans, and his father is a hokage, but only the second hokage had the ability to create water from the air. Don't you think it's strange that Naruto has the same ability? Ranjaku asked curiously. Armin thought about Ranjaku's theory. He had never seen anything like it before. He knew Naruto was strong, but he had no idea that he had abilities similar to the second Hokage. Maybe, I do not know Ranjika, we'll ask him when we find him, Armin said firmly, and Ranjaku was glad to see that her friend was a little confident now, even if it was just to save his friends. It was still a good sign that Armin was growing up. Then Armin remembered something he wanted to ask Ranjaku after their battle with the snake. He hadn't seen anything like this before either. Ranjaku, with what weapon did you kill the snake? Asked Armin curiously. This time, a slight smile appeared on Ranjaku's face. She sealed the hand seal, and the next moment, a shining bow and arrow appeared in her right hand. Wow, it's amazing, Armin said in amazement, and Ranjaku giggled a little after seeing his reaction. He was quite cute. This is an ability I inherited from my father. I can control my chakra, shape it precisely and use it as a weapon. I can shoot multiple arrows at the same time and I can destroy enemies. Said Ranjaku happily. Is that why you were chosen by the black light? Armin asked curiously. Ranjaku smiled shyly at him and rubbed the back of his head comically, which really made Armin smile even more. I hope that. Said Ranjaku, confused. Ranjaku. Armin said slowly and looked at the blonde with a kind smile. I'm glad you're here. Naruto was limping slowly in the forest. His whole body felt like he had gone through a meat grinder. Blood was flowing from his head. To say he was injured would be an understatement. That he was seriously injured and would not have lasted long in this forest without medical help, but it was still worth it. If he could save his friend. His vision was blurry, and with every step his legs made him feel more and more pain. His left arm was definitely broken, but he wasn't sure about the condition of his legs. I can't give up. I can't leave Mikasa and Armin here. Naruto thought wearily and coughed up blood. A few drops of blood fell on the grass below him, and when he looked down, he was quite shocked when he discovered a bloody trail that was walking right in front of him. What is it? Naruto thought nervously. He definitely had a very bad feeling about this. That he slowly started limping towards the blood trail. He was very nervous, and he didn't even have any weapons to defend himself. In case of an attack, he will be defenseless. Since he used almost all of his chakra to create these water clones, Naruto made a small turn, and what he saw next will forever remain in his head. He had never seen such a terrifying sight before, and in an instant, he violently vomited on the ground. There was a badly mutilated body in front of him, and, apparently, it was a black light cadet. It was a boy of the same age, but his stomach was torn. It was as if someone had torn him apart with their bare hands. He coughed a few more times, and he put his hand on his chest to calm down. Then he slowly moved his hands to the edge of the body jacket to find out who it was. The face was so badly disfigured, and combined with the disgusting stench, damn it, he couldn't identify this body without any identification or clue. Shinko the stutterer. Naruto remembered this boy. He was one of the students in his group. But who killed him in such a terrible way? There are no claw marks or even bite marks of any animals. It's like someone just tore it up with their bare hands. This is terrible, thought the frightened Naruto. Suddenly, he was able to sense someone's presence with his sensory skills, and after a few seconds, these signatures multiplied. Naruto's heartbeat immediately quickened and a terrible feeling appeared in his head. I'm surrounded. Naruto thought nervously and tried to calm down. The only question left was whether these signatures were friends or enemies. He heard soft footsteps coming from the nearby bushes, and immediately became alert and was ready to defend himself with his right hand, but what came out was something he hadn't even dreamed of in his wildest dreams. What is it? Naruto thought in despair, his eyes widened even more in shock, when several gizmos flew out of the bushes from all sides. He was surrounded on all sides, and his enemies were not some animal or creature, they were people. To be more precise, they only looked like people. The fact that they were crawling with their legs and arms was terrifying. They were all men and were wearing ragged clothes, but when he looked closely, he was scared to the core, like these people in blacklight uniforms. What are you? The frightened Naruto asked. Some of them were now looking at Naruto as if he was their prey, and this time Naruto saw what they really looked like. Their faces were terrible, they had long sharp fangs like teeth, and very long nails. It seemed from their faces that they had lived here for many years, and their hair was dirty and longer than his. If only he could tell, they were all 15 to 16 years old. If only he could tell, they were all 15 to 16 years old. All these people. No, these creatures let out this terrifying howl, and Naruto saw the blood that was in their hands, along with some pieces of flesh. Seeing Shinko's mutilated body and the state it was in, and the creatures standing in front of him, he understood everything. Shinko was eaten by a living person. One of the creatures jumped straight at Naruto like a wild dog, and Naruto was barely able to dodge the attack. He was still shocked when two of these creatures grabbed one of his legs and started biting him. Naruto shouted in agony, threw both creatures away and jumped a few meters away from these monsters. These guys weren't human. They were animals. He didn't know what had happened to them, but right now he had to get out of here, otherwise they would eat him alive. Ignoring the constant pain in his legs, he ran at full speed. He could hear the creatures growling, and they were right on his trail, and the sight of them crawling at him like wild animals scared him even more. What should I do? Naruto asked loudly. He had never been in such a situation before. He had no chakra left to defend himself, and there seemed to be no one who could help him. It was useless to talk to these creatures, because they tried to eat him. There were 5 of them, and he knew he couldn't run any longer. You're making the wrong choice, Naruto, because hell is waiting for you. He clearly remembered what his mother had told him. And it seemed like she was damn right. It was hell, and he could not even imagine that such a thing was happening in his wildest dreams. Naruto suddenly felt that someone quickly grabbed him and hid him behind a tree. He felt a pair of hands on his mouth, and when he looked back, he was shocked to see that it was Mikasa. Mikasa. Naruto muttered in shock, but she looked at him sternly and told him to be silent. She put him on the ground, and suddenly one of these creatures appeared to their right, and what happened next shocked Naruto even more. Before the beast could attack them, Mikasa pierced the skull with a kunai. Naruto watched in shock as the body fell lifelessly to the ground, and Mikasa slowly removed the kunai from his body. It was murder. She just killed someone, thought the shocked Naruto. His hand was shaking so much, and Mikasa noticed it and looked at him with sympathy. Everything will be fine, Mikasa said warmly and wiped a tear that rolled down from Naruto's eyes. Then she picked up her kunai and quickly walked towards the creatures, and Naruto watched in shock as she effortlessly killed 2 of them. A blow straight to the heart, and a blow right between the eyes, and the creatures fell lifeless. She killed them. It's like she'd done this before, as if she didn't have a problem with taking her life. Had she done it before? This girl, she was something else. There was so much in her that he didn't know. She wiped the blood off kunai and slowly walked over and sat next to him. her heart breaking a little when she saw the expression in Naruto's eyes. But she didn't blame him. It was the first time he had seen a murder. She knew how she felt when it happened in front of her eyes. I shouldn't be thinking about this memory right now. Mikasa thought firmly, only the winners survive in this war. This world is ruthless, Naruto. The sooner you accept it, the more chances you have to survive in this war, Mikasa said softly and tried to stop the blood flowing from his head. She was still a little confused when there was still a scared expression on his face. What is it? Mikasa asked curiously, but she was quite shocked when a few drops of blood fell on Naruto's face. She instantly looked up and was startled when two of these creatures appeared directly above them. Before they both had time to react, two creatures jumped on them and were now trying to eat them alive. Mikasa tried to break free from the enemy's grip, but she lacked the strength. Then she bit her lip in frustration when she saw that Naruto was still in shock, and the creature above him was going to kill him. Kill him, Mikasa shouted loudly. Naruto came out of his stupor when he heard Mikasa's loud voice. He looked up and saw the terrifying face of this creature and grabbed his hands, trying to stop him, but he was quickly overpowered. Am I going to be eaten alive? Naruto thought. Shocked, he saw that another creature was going to eat Mikasa, and something in him changed. I won't let you hurt her, you bastards. Naruto shouted angrily. Mikasa was shocked to hear this, but what she saw afterward scared her soul. The expression of Naruto's eyes changed. Instead of his kind black eyes, now they were so cold that a chill ran down her spine. What the dash? Mikasa couldn't speak as Naruto just slammed his right hand right into the attacker's eyes, and a pool of blood fell on his face when he had just destroyed the creature's eyes, and the next moment he tore the creature's brain with his bare hand. The creature screamed in pain and fell flat on the ground, and she kicked her attacker hard in the groin, and the creature fell on its side with a cry of pain. Naruto grabbed kunai, who was next to him, and in the blink of an eye jumped straight at the last creature, and he started hitting him right on the head again and again. Die 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 die. Mikasa watched in shock as Naruto continuously struck at the already dead creature. He didn't stop at all, as if he just didn't want to stop. She grabbed his arm tightly, and he looked at her murderously. There was an animal look in his eyes, and it scared her a little. He was like a real killer right now. It's over, Mikasa said firmly, and she tried to take his hand, but he shook her hand and started stabbing the creature again. She grabbed his arm again and threw kunai away in the blink of an eye, and before he could react, she had knocked him down and was now sitting on his chest. He tried to shake her off, but she continued her grip, came a little closer to his face and looked him straight in the eyes. It's over, Naruto, we are safe, Mikasa whispered softly, and she saw the emptiness in his eyes. It was the same as when she first killed. She had never seen him so broken before. Even if they were shinobi, they were only 8 years old, and today Naruto took 2 lives in a barbaric way, and she felt his pain. None of them were sure who initiated the kiss, only that someone did, and somehow his lips pressed against hers. Her lips are so different from his own. Softer, softer, like rose petals, fuller, holding him captive from the very first touch. Her joyful sigh runs through his ears. He pulled back, surprised, and then he entered again. I was amazed at her decline again, then again, and this time, moaning, she opened for him. Her tongue rolled over his tongue, bringing with it the taste of summer, berries and cream, newly bloomed roses and sultry nights. He sank even lower, touching her face, and she came to life in his arms. With a persistent cry, she wrapped her arms around his neck. No matter how focused he was on her, he could follow her example. When her tongue pushed, he knew he was going to meet it. When her tongue retreated, he knew he had to chase him. He enjoyed each new experience, growled at the sudden desire for more. More, everything. Her fingers slid through his hair, decadent sensations danced over his scalp, tickling skin that had never been touched by someone else's hands before. What was it about her that drove him crazy? He was pretty sure it had something to do with the old saying. Do opposites attract? If she was ice, then he was a fire meant to melt her. There was something about her cold demeanor that attracted him, and right now, he just didn't know what the hell was going on. He was just doing it. After a few seconds, Mikasa broke the kiss, and a stunned expression appeared on her face, the kind that was reflected by Naruto when he also realized what had happened. They both just kissed. It wasn't intentional, it just happened that way. They were both sane, and it just happened. What the hell was that? Mikasa asked, shocked, and a slightly embarrassed expression appeared on her face. I don't know.